Chapter 270. Chu Yang really didn't have the slightest intention of pleasing these masters. The reason why he hid his name was to avoid being caught by that little girl and beaten half to death, making him doubt his life. Therefore, his main goal was to change the formation. He was serious, but where was the formation? Chu Yang looked at the 3 lists in the sky, confused. How was he supposed to change it? I say, sloppy great-uncle, I don't know anything about formations. Uncle, why don't you let me see where the formation is? Long Face ignored him. Uncle, don't tell me your formation is really shit. Seems like it should be easy to find it. Long Face still ignored him. Seems like it. Chu Yang's last words were clearly heard by Long Face. Long Face almost couldn't hold back and jumped out to fight with Chu Yang. Get out of the way, get out of the way. I'm following sloppy great-uncle's instructions to change the formation. Don't block my way. Chu Yang used sloppy great-uncle as an imperial sword to pave the way. Long Face was so angry that his nose was crooked. All of the examinees retreated like a receding tide wherever Chu Yang went. In an instant, he was directly below the 3 lists. Directly above his head was the enormous heaven's eye that looked like the sun. Is this hairy guy for real? No way. I guarantee that he's just joking. The formation is definitely not good. It's harder than ascending to heaven. Even ascending to heaven isn't this hard. This bastard is definitely not doing a formation. I just don't know what he's trying to do. Everyone treated Chu Yang's plan to change the formation as a joke. They thought it was impossible. Things like formations were slightly more advanced. Without a certain level of comprehension, no matter how much one studied it, it would probably be a waste of effort. Generally speaking, only geniuses with extremely high levels of comprehension would fiddle with and study such advanced things. This was because formations were simply too complicated and too taxing on one's mind. Chu Yang didn't know what to do at the moment. So, he muttered, the stuff above should be a projection. Then, he walked around, looking for the formation. He looked very serious, as if he was serious. I say, monkey, that's enough. Quit while you're ahead. It knows this array formation, but you don't. The big meatball felt that Chu Yang's hairy face and monkey face were completely reasonable. As soon as he opened his mouth, he felt that he had already taken revenge on the big meatball. Big meatball, go play somewhere else. Don't disturb me from being serious. The meatball had failed. Clearly, the monkey couldn't see through Chu Yang's heart. Hairy one, I think you should go back and grow hairy. It's been half a day, have you seen where the array formation is? Long-haired guy, hurry up and stop making a fool of yourself. Formations are not suitable for you. The eyebrowless man and the thief also had a deep grudge against Chu Yang. Long-haired's sharp arrow also pierced through Chu Yang's body. Soon after, they joined forces with the meatball and issued a joint statement, forming a unified attack. Long-haired man, I can tell at a glance that you are pretending. Chu Yang cast a sidelong glance at the 3 of them. Your mother is calling you to go home for dinner. Hurry up and think as far away as you can. Don't come out and embarrass your parents. Bastard, the 3 of them realized that they had said so much, but the lethality was too weak. Whether it was the monkey or long hair, they didn't hit the bullseye with a single arrow, but this grandson could make them choke. Fuck your grandfather, I don't believe that I can't even see hair. While Chu Yang was cursing, the 10 peak masters were already in a heated discussion. This little bastard seems to really want to change the array formation. This kid really doesn't seem to know anything about arrays. He doesn't seem to be faking it. That's interesting. Long Fies said with disdain, he doesn't know shit and can only scratch his head there. What's the point? If he can make the array formation appear, I'll call him grandfather. Chapter 271. At this moment, Chu Yang had already used his genius martial spirit. The celestial wheel in his spiritual world was also rapidly rotating and deducing. For a moment, Chu Yang was sitting there motionless as if he had been petrified. He is actually serious. Is formation something that can be learned just because you want to? Ridiculous. It is extremely difficult to learn the basics of formation. He actually wants to learn it without a teacher. If he can do it, then formation is worthless. What kind of brain does such a person have? Can't he learn the basics of formation in a year and a half? He can be considered a genius if he can learn it in a year and a half. Why don't you just say that he's an idiot? Many people were surprised. Many people expressed disdain and many people ridiculed. No one thought that Chu Yang could comprehend the formation in such a short time because it was simply impossible. The requirement of comprehension for formation was too high. Therefore, the threshold to enter the formation was extremely high. The majority of people were blocked outside the formation. The big meatball, the guy without eyebrows and the thief looked at each other and started to discuss. This grandson doesn't look stupid. Could it be that he wants to use this formation for the whole assessment? It is very possible. If he makes a little noise, he will be considered a genius. I am afraid that is more powerful than anything. This grandson is a little whimsical. It is not easy to learn the basics of formation. This won't do. I have to watch him make a fool of himself first. The three of them could be considered to be very friendly. After a while, Chu Yang's posture showed that he really wanted to fight to the death with the array formation. The sarcastic voice became even more ear-piercing. But fortunately, Chu Yang was completely immersed in his own world, and didn't hear it at all. This is the simplest formation. It should be based on the terrain. It is like the military pays attention to the right time, right place and right people. Chu Yang said to himself. His genius martial spirit had already deduced many things. Immediately, he used the power of the formation. With a light buzzing sound, ripples spread out from his body. This is the fluctuation of the formation. He comprehended it so quickly. It can't be. Isn't formation more difficult than anything else? If he can comprehend formations in such a short amount of time, wouldn't that be extremely shocking? It would logically prove that he is a genius. Chu Yang's body emitted a miraculous fluctuation. Immediately, countless jaws dropped in shock. Those who were waiting to see a good show, especially those who were the most sarcastic, were stunned. They could no longer remain calm. How was this possible? Fortunately, this was not certain yet, so they still maintained their suspicions. However, the result they were waiting for made them feel very disappointed. The fluctuations on Chu Yang's body grew more and more intense. Soon after, a burst of blazing light appeared around him. Then, four great arrays appeared in front of everyone. Of the four formations, three of them were almost identical. They corresponded to the three lists, while the last formation corresponded to the heaven's eye that monitored the Western District. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How is this possible? How is it possible for someone to comprehend the profoundness of formations in such a short period of time? Many people cried out involuntarily, as if they had seen an evil ghost. They couldn't understand why the formation suddenly became so easy. It said that it knew them, but they didn't know them. Boom. The 10 peak masters were in chaos. Especially sloppy King Long Phage, his reaction was the most intense. He suddenly stood up, causing his chair to explode. As if he had encountered a great enemy, he released a powerful aura. His eyes were fixed on Chu Yang through the heaven's eye that monitored the Western District. The other 9 peak masters were also very shocked. However, after seeing Long Phage's reaction, they were convinced of this fact. It seems that this kid is indeed an unparalleled genius in the art of formations. His talent is peerless. Until just now, I was still suspecting that this kid already knew about formations. It was just that he hid it so well that we didn't notice it. However, with Sloppy King's reaction, I've eliminated this suspicion. Indeed. Those who cultivate formations will definitely have the aura of formations. Even we can sense it, let alone this sharp-eyed Sloppy King. Now, we can be sure that this kid's talent is unparalleled. He seems to have manifested formations based on his conception. The 9 continued to discuss, but Long Face didn't move at all. Even his eyes didn't blink. Seeing him like this, the 9 immediately knew how shocked Long Face, the Sloppy King, was. He couldn't believe it. Chapter 272. Haha, isn't it just a broken spider web? Do you think this is enough to stump me? Don't you know that I'm invincible and omnipotent? Today, this young master will open your eyes. Broken spider web. This brat really dared to say that. The 9 peak masters felt that sloppy King Longface was about to explode. They all looked at Longface. Longface's eyes were fixed on Chu Yang. However, he knew that the 9 people were looking at him. Surprisingly, he didn't go berserk. Instead, his voice was extremely calm. He even revealed a trace of reminiscence. The formation is indeed just a broken spider web. The 9 peak masters looked at each other in astonishment. This sloppy king actually did not go berserk and roar. It was truly strange. Don't look at me like that. Back then, when I was comprehending the 5 elements formation, I accidentally touched the soul imprint of the founder. He said this to me, and I suddenly saw the light. I had an epiphany in the Tao of formations, and I've improved greatly over the years. Founder. The founder that Longface mentioned was the founder of the 5 Elements sect, the 5 Elements Patriarch. Chu Yang only had a preliminary understanding of formations, but his point of view was the same as the founders. That was a little scary. The formation was merely a broken spiderweb. After pondering for a while, the 9 peak leaders were able to figure out the mysteries behind it and simplified it. The path of formations was extremely profound and complicated. If one could simplify the complicated, then the path of formations would naturally improve. However, this kid had only just started learning formations, and he had already reached such a height. That shouldn't be possible. It should be a manifestation of his pure and innocent heart when he first learned the Tao of array formations. This kid's comprehension is extremely high. I'm afraid he's not just talented in formations. The 1,000 Sword Peak has a lesser 1,000 Swords formation that's very suitable for him. After Du Guangbua, the peak master of the 1,000 Sword Peak, spoke, a few others followed suit. The 10 peaks of the 5 Elements sect were Lotus Peak, Divine Command Peak, Medicine Peak, Sky Formation Peak, Mist Peak, 1,000 Sword Peak, Sky Thunder Peak, Giant Peak, White Tiger Peak, and Raging Flame Peak. There were 10 peaks in total. At this moment, the 10 peak masters who were present all wanted to take Chu Yang in as their disciple. If formations are added to the Tao of pill refinement, it will definitely be more exquisite. Mu Hongyi, the peak master of Medicine Peak, said, "If this kid becomes my disciple, he will definitely have a bright future and become a supreme pill refiner. Pill refinement is good, but I think he'll do even better if he joins my Sky Thunder Peak. I think this kid is very naughty and mischievous. My Mount Wu is cold and lifeless. We need a monkey like this to set the atmosphere. I think he and Mount Wu are the most suitable." They were planning to snatch him. Sharks were very good at recognizing good stuff. Longface's reaction was huge. He suddenly turned around and glared at the 9 people. Du Guangbua, Mu Hongyi, Yu Jingfu, and you Jiarong, you damn fish. Try to snatch him for me. If I don't make a mess of your sect, I'll change my surname to yours. This bastard. The few of them were depressed. Longface, this sloppy king, was really capable. All he needed to do was to set up a trap outside their sect and they would be in deep trouble. Don't think that Longface wouldn't do such a thing. The few of them kept quiet. Everyone had to be willing to become a disciple. They could just use their methods when the time came. Chapter 273. Sui Yunfu was the only one among the 9 who was not afraid of Longface matrices. Divine Command Peak's beast taming and puppet manipulation were all related to matrices, which was why he was listed as Longface's biggest potential opponent. This kid is indeed extraordinary. Sui Yunfu retorted and said seriously, "It's not impossible for him to join Divine Command Peak." "Goatee, are you trying to make life difficult for me?" Longface roared. Nothing had happened yet, but the 10 peak masters were already fighting over him. If the other examinees knew about this, they would probably go crazy with envy. You only need to change 3 formations. It's not a big change, but you just need to embed my intentions in them. Chu Yang's voice came from the heaven's eye, attracting the attention of the 10 peak masters. The 4 formations each corresponded to 1 item. Chu Yang only needed to change 3 of the lists, which meant he needed to comprehend the formations of the 3 lists. If 1 formation was understood, then all 3 would be understood. As for the last formation, it was even more complicated. Chu Yang did not plan to study the Heaven's Eye formation at all. He immediately looked at one of the three formations and observed it carefully. He muttered to himself, "These straight lines, curves, and hooks are spider webs. These squares and circles are spiders. Spider webs. Spiders." Many of the people present could no longer remain calm after comparing the array formation to such an extent. A high-level array formation had actually been belittled to such an extent. The big meatball could not help but walk to Chu Yang's side and poked him. "Monkey, be careful with your words, or your sloppy great-uncle might go berserk." The one without eyebrows also agreed. "Monkey, you need to have some taste. Yeah, talking is an art. Don't spout nonsense with that mouth of yours." The thief also spoke up enthusiastically. Everyone agreed with the three's words. Chu Yang was fully focused on deriving the formation. Being disturbed by the three, he was immediately annoyed. "Big meatball, are you bored out of your mind? I can tell that you've been an idiot since you were young. You'll definitely score 0 in your exams." The big meatball glared at him. "I'm kindly reminding you to watch your words, but you're making me out to be an idiot. You thief, it seems that stealing definitely doesn't require any skill. You're just a disgrace to thieves. Hurry up and practice your skills. Also, the one without eyebrows, from what I see, your results are probably the same as your eyebrows. Your points are transparent, so I'm afraid you don't have much points." Although the guy with no eyebrows and the thief were also choked, the word points had slammed into their heads, so they couldn't care less about their anger. Now that the test had begun, they were actually here to watch the show. Were they stupid? Boom. There was an uproar in the crowd. Someone shouted, "I'm afraid that the East, South, and North districts have already started fighting for points. Maybe we'll be delayed by this top-grade item and the West districts will be at the bottom of the rankings. This top grade is simply a nuisance. That's right, we're about to become a joke." Just as the people in the West districts were in an uproar, the East district's rankings in the sky lit up. 3 names appeared: Gong Shong, Chu Renxian, and Li Chengfeng. The 3 of them were tied for first place. The North and South districts' rankings also lit up, and names appeared one after another. The people in the West districts were in an uproar. This meant that they were already one step behind in the test. Perhaps this slight disadvantage would cause them to be very passive in the end. Let's go. Don't waste any time here. If we're at a disadvantage in this test, we might be at a disadvantage for the rest of our lives. That sounds exaggerated, but it's really possible. We're all at the same starting line. Whoever is worse than the other will lose at the starting line. It's really irreversible. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, the sound of air being torn apart rang out. Countless people in the West districts scattered in an instant, and soon there was no one left. It's finally quiet now. Chu Yang also began to wholeheartedly immerse himself in the study, research, and deduction of arrays. He also wanted to fight for points. Screech, suddenly, at this moment, a high-pitched cry of a crane came from afar. Immediately, a fairy-like girl came over on a crane, attracting the attention of all the people in the West districts. Chapter 274. The little girl didn't come directly to Chu Yang, which made Chu Yang slightly relieved. However, he immediately heard the little girl's question. "Have you seen this little thief?" Looking up, Chu Yang's sharp eyes could see very far and also very clearly. He saw her open a scroll, and Chu Yang's despicable appearance instantly jumped out. "This damned little girl, she used too much strength. If I was caught by her, I might really be consigned to eternal damnation." Chu Yang was somewhat puzzled. How did this little girl find this place so quickly? "Senior sister, I have never seen this person before." "Look carefully, you really haven't seen him before?" And Daihu's voice was heard. He led a group of people behind Qian Aoshue, and he worked even harder than Qian Aoshue. Chu Yang didn't recognize Daihu, and he didn't know about the grudge between Daihu and his big brother, Chu Fei. However, when he looked at Daihu, he cursed in his heart, "Your grandfather, you plaything, do you really think that little girl is yours? Senior brother, I really haven't seen this person before. What about you?" And Dehu asked the big meatball. The meatball's fat hand touched his chin. After pondering for a while, he pointed in Chu Yang's direction and said, I haven't seen this person before, but this despicable appearance seems very familiar to me. There's one over there. Big meatball, if I have the chance, I will definitely lose weight and cut off all the fat on your body. Chu Yang's heart thumped. He didn't know if the thousand faces art could fool this little girl, but he could only pretend that nothing had happened, and his mouth kept muttering to himself. Square spider. Round spider. Triangular spider. Whoosh. In an instant, Chen Aoshue and Ndehu had already arrived in front of Chu Yang. When they saw that Chu Yang was studying the formation, they could not help but be surprised. People who were proficient in formations were usually not simple. Chen Aoshue seemed to have a pair of sharp eyes. She fixed her eyes on Chu Yang and carefully observed Chu Yang. Chu Yang pretended to study the array formation, looking aloof and detached. He kept muttering to himself, there are also oval-shaped spiders, 5-point spiders, 6 aligned spiders, and 7-star spiders. So many spiders. There are at least 30 of them in total. Suddenly, Chu Yang didn't even raise his head. He suddenly opened his mouth and said, This junior martial sister, aren't men very handsome when they are serious? Have you fallen in love with me? Just like what that meatball had said, this person was indeed a slut. Chen Aoshue frowned. The person in front of her was definitely not that little thief, but his tone was almost the same as that little thief's, which made her very suspicious. And Dehu was angry and immediately gave a look to the people around him. Immediately, someone angrily rebuked, How dare you? If you dare to be frivolous and speak dirty words again, do you believe that I won't cut off your tongue? Bastard. Chu Yang sneered in his heart. I want to see how many people you can be jealous of. Not to mention that there are so many men in the world, I alone can make you jealous to death with just a few changes of my appearance. Junior sister, you are simply a femme fatale. You are staring at me, so you are obviously interested in me. This makes me very shy. But now, besides being shy, I am also very scared. Junior sister, those people around you are really terrible and domineering. I am scared to death. Soon after, Chu Yang didn't hide his sarcasm as he said sarcastically, I say, you guys, you're taking care of this junior sister so attentively. Have you long regarded this junior sister as your exclusive property? Then why don't you put a tag on her face and make a note, she's mine, and I'll kill whoever touches her. You are courting death. Chop him up. You don't know what death is. Suddenly, they were furious. And Dehu's thoughts were exposed. He was angry and worried. He carefully looked at Chen Aoshue. Sure enough, he saw that her face was very ugly, and the killing intent in his heart was uncontrollable. Chapter 275. Chu Yang smiled and pointed at the heavenly eye above his head. My uncle goat and sloppy great-uncle are watching from above. Try touching me and I'll teach you how to be a proper person. And Dehu could not help but withdraw his killing intent. He clearly knew who was monitoring the scene through that heaven's eye. It was the 10 peak masters of the 5-element sect. Therefore, he couldn't be too presumptuous. Get out of here. Don't disturb me when I'm studying formations. Otherwise, I won't let you go. Chen Aoshue and Ndehu didn't move. Chu Yang was too lazy to pay attention to them. He muttered to himself again, 30 spiders are all men, but only one woman. My sloppy great-uncle, this is too much. How can a woman serve 30 men? This scene is too beautiful. I don't dare to look. Oh my God, sloppy imperial uncle's heart is simply too evil and dark. He's simply a demon. No matter what, he has to think for that woman. A woman facing off against over 30 people, isn't she too pitiful? Also, he has to pay attention to his image. This is too immoral. 30 men against one woman. No matter how you look at it, it's too much. It's too inhumane, too dirty, too filthy. Chen Aoshue's face was already red. This bastard dared to talk about such filthy things in front of a girl. Puppy. Long-faced sloppy appearance appeared in the heavenly eye. He roared, and it seemed like there was a huge sound wave coming from the heavenly eye. Chen Aoshue and Ndehu couldn't help but be shocked. This bastard wasn't simple. Sloppy great-uncle, can you not be so agitated? Sloppy great-uncle. Both Chen Aoshue and Ndehu were stunned. He actually called Long Face, this bad-tempered sloppy great-uncle? Sloppy great-uncle, don't be like this. I'm just joking. My understanding of formations is very precise. I know very well that sloppy great-uncle is definitely not an immoral person. That's it. How could Long Face not understand this sarcasm? Chu Yang's voice rang out again. This is a melodramatic love story between 30 men and 1 woman. This spider, for example, is this handsome guy in front of us. Chu Yang pointed directly at Ndehu. There are many spiders like him, and most of them think that this female spider is rightfully his. They even treat this female spider as their exclusive property, and no one can touch it. As for this female spider, she should be the femme fatale in front of me. Chu Yang then pointed to Chen Aoshue. She is the absolute protagonist in the love story of more than 30 men and a woman. For her, 30 men are too few, 3,000 is not enough, and 300 million is barely enough. Bastard, you're the female spider, your whole family are female spiders, you're the one who wants 300 million men. Chen Aoshue's ears were dirty when she heard that. Her face was so red that it couldn't be redder. It couldn't be hotter, and she had goosebumps all over her body. 30 men and 1 woman. Such a beautiful image kept appearing in her mind. The more she wanted to get rid of it, the more she couldn't. Extremely disgusting. Unforgivable. She couldn't wait to cut Chu Yang into pieces. How could he use her to talk about such a disgusting thing? Little junior sister, this is just an example. Don't imagine yourself as that female spider. You're a girl, yet you're so shameless. How could you imagine such a shameful thing? Chen Aoshue staggered and almost fell. This bastard wasn't done yet. Little junior sister, I'll give you a suggestion. Don't have too many men, just enough is enough. She was furious. At this moment, her eyes suddenly widened, and a line of words appeared in the formation. Little junior sister, I know I'm very handsome, but please don't fall for me. I'm allergic to femme fatale. Allergic to femme fatale? These words clearly meant that her jade arm was the pillow of thousands, and her red lips were tasted by tens of thousands. Chapter 276. Little Snowy, give him a good thrashing. Just kill him. From the heaven's eye in the sky, the sloppy great king's voice rumbled like thunder. As soon as it entered the ears of the little girl, Chen Aoshue, who was in the middle of beating someone, suddenly staggered and almost fell to the ground. Little Snowy, what the hell? Can't you say something nicer? Sloppy great-uncle's 3 words Little Snowy made Chen Aoshue feel like she was about to explode. And this sentence had simply become Chu Yang's best defense. Chen Aoshue realized that she definitely didn't look at the almanac when she went out today. If this bastard in front of her heard the name Little Snowy, she would probably die from embarrassment. This kind of nickname was too intimate. It was as if she and her future husband were sweetly calling each other names. After a short pause, her attack still arrived as planned. However, before it reached Chu Yang, it smashed into a barrier. The formation Chu Yang was in suddenly blossomed with endless radiance. It was incomparably dazzling. The formation had blocked the attack. How was this possible? Chen Aoshue, Ndehu, and the others were still fine. They didn't have much of a reaction because they could believe that Chu Yang was proficient in formations. However, the sloppy great-uncle couldn't. At this moment, within the heaven's eye in the sky, the sloppy great-uncle's eyes bulged. It seemed as if they were about to fall and become the son and daughter of the heaven's eye in the sky. He also froze in an instant. His expression became still. Boom. The heaven's eye in the air instantly erupted with dazzling light at this moment. Chen Aoshue, Ndehu, and the others only saw the divine manipulation peak, lotus peak, thousand sword peak and the other 10 peak masters appear together. They huddled together like commoners watching a bustling scene in a bustling city. Their appearance was very undignified and even somewhat laughable. It did not match their status at all. Especially the expression on their faces. It was as if they had seen the revival of the 5 Elements sect's founder. It was as if the sky had collapsed and the earth had sunk. They were in such disbelief as they stared blankly at Chu Yang, who had also lit up in the formation. He became the eye of the formation and fused with the formation. Sui Yunfu, the peak master of the divine command peak, said. His voice was like a needle that pierced a balloon. The 10 peak masters instantly exploded. It was as if the frozen world was trying to catch up with time because of the pause just now. Everyone's expressions and words were extremely fast. Qian Aoshue was speechless for a while. Do you have to make such an expression? Isn't he just a bastard who is proficient in formations? You guys don't look like the peak masters of the 5 elements sect at all. You guys are making such a big fuss out of nothing. It'll be embarrassing if word gets out. You're making it seem like the 5 elements sect is made up of country bumpkins who don't know anything about formations. Little Pimp really couldn't figure it out. Although array formations were difficult, it shouldn't be so advanced. However, when she heard a loud boom coming from the sky, she was instantly petrified. This little brat is a little too ridiculous. How long has it been? He has actually comprehended formations to such an extent. He's a miracle in the field of formations. He reached the small accomplishment from the entry stage in such a short time. Are our eyes playing tricks on us? Why do I feel that it's so unreal? Why don't we let little Qianqian try again? At this moment, after the formation blocked the attack, it had already calmed down, and the light disappeared. Little Qianqian, beat this little bastard up again. Little Snowy, beat him up for me. Little O, don't be afraid. Beat him to death. Use all your strength. After Little Snowy, Little Qianqian and Little O all came out. In the past, Qian Aoshue would have already pulled their beards or pulled their hair when they called her that. However, she didn't have any reaction at all now. It was as if she had fallen in love at first sight. She stared at Chu Yang with infatuation without blinking. He has just touched the entry stage in formations, and he has reached the small accomplishment. Chapter 277. Qian Aoshue had tried to learn about formations before, but after more than a month, she still hadn't learned anything. However, what did she just hear? This bastard who had called her a broken shoe had not only learned the basics of formations in just a short while, but had even reached the small success stage. Hee hee. Chu Yang looked at the sloppy imperial uncle in the air, then looked at Qian Aoshue, and laughed. Sloppy imperial uncle, you're an old cow eating young grass. Your little Shueshue is very good. She has a big butt and is easy to give birth to. Giving birth to 7 or 8 children shouldn't be a problem. An old cow eating young grass. The 10 peak masters in the air were like 10 fish in boiling water. However, in an instant, it was as if a world of ice had arrived. The boiling water suddenly dropped in temperature and froze. The other 9 people unconsciously looked at the sloppy imperial uncle with a strange expression. As for the sloppy imperial uncle, he was shocked silly. He actually pointed at himself in disbelief and said, "Me? I'm an old cow eating young grass." Soon after, the sloppy imperial uncle reacted and roared, "Little dog, what kind of dog fart are you spouting?" Qian Aoshue was also like a picture of a demoness that had been torn apart. She was like a 9-tailed fox that had broken out of a seal and rushed out. She screamed incessantly, revealing her 9-tailed fox fangs and claws. It was as if she was venting out all the resentment that had been sealed for thousands of years. "I'm going to kill you." She was completely driven mad. Previously, this bastard had said that her jade arm could be used as a pillow by 1,000 people, and her red lips could be used by 10,000 people. Now, he actually said that she had hooked up with an elder. Did she still want to live? If this matter were to spread out, she would have no face to see anyone. She would have no face to live. Boom. 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 Qian Aoshue went completely berserk and crazily bombarded the formation. She looked soft and weak, but now, her explosive body was bursting with attacks that were as explosive as her body. The formation emitted dazzling rays of light, and even started to shake. This made Chu Yang startled. This little girl is so powerful. She better not break the formation. Otherwise, I won't even know how I will die. Thank goodness. After a while, he completely relaxed. The formation was extremely sturdy. If the formation could be destroyed, the list in the air would be destroyed. Therefore, the formation was not that weak. Chu Yang calmed down and started to tease them again. Sloppy great-uncle, sloppy great-aunt, even if I exposed your adultery, you don't have to be like this. Isn't it just a relationship between an old man and a young woman? This is something I can understand. So, do you have to be like this? It's not like you don't have the face to go out and meet people. If you go out like this, you won't have the face to see anyone. The sloppy great king was about to rush out of the heaven's eye and beat this little dog, Chu Yang, to death. This little dog was too much of a bastard. He actually dared to talk about him without any bottom line. As for Qian Aoshue, her pretty face was completely red, and her attacks became even more violent. She gnashed her teeth as if she was gnawing on Chu Yang's bones. Little girl, I can't take care of you now. I will anger you to death. When Chu Yang saw her furious appearance, his heart bloomed with joy. Then, he opened his mouth and said, Sloppy great-aunt, I know you have taken a fancy to me and want to be with me behind my sloppy great-uncle's back. However, I really can't do such an extremely dirty thing. This is because I have a bottom line. Sloppy great-aunt, please have some self-respect. Qian Aoshue was angered again and again. She almost died from anger. In the end, she completely broke away from her female form and turned into a huge ferocious beast. She screamed continuously, and her voice soared up the pitch. Arth! I am going to kill you, you bastard. Her furious appearance made Chu Yang feel a little guilty. He seemed to have gone too far. Chapter 278. Chu Yang laid on the ground and fell into a deep sleep in an instant. Snore. In an instant, his snoring rang out. The 10 peak masters, and Deity, and the others were all stunned. Even Qian Aoshue, who was in a frenzy, couldn't help but become quiet at this moment. He fell asleep. He actually fell asleep. He actually fell asleep in an instant and even started snoring. He fell asleep as soon as he laid down. It was simply unbelievable. Qian Aoshue's watery eyes were filled with astonishment. She was so angry that she almost fainted. This was the greatest contempt and mockery towards her. At this moment, Chu Yang's snoring seemed to be saying to her, Silly girl, are you crazy? You know you can't break the formation, yet you still crazily attack it. Are you really crazy or just faking it? If you have the strength, my heart will ache. What about your tender little hands? If you don't, then my heart will ache. The more Qian Aoshue looked at Chu Yang, the angrier she became. Her chest was like a vast ocean, rising and falling like waves. She was so angry that she was panting heavily. Her chest was like a bellows. Although this little puppy is self-taught, studying the formation must have exhausted a great deal of his mind and energy. He must be exhausted. He's only exhausted, yet he's already at this level. This is simply unheard of. He can be said to be a supreme genius on the path of formations. I even think that he was born because of formations. I really can't imagine how he could go from beginner level to small success in formations in just 1 hour. There will always be such a person in this world. He's extremely dazzling and arrogant. Our 5 Elements sect's examination this year will probably have a great harvest. Not to mention anything else, just this little puppy alone is far better than all the previous years. The 10 peak masters exclaimed endlessly. Their evaluation of Chu Yang was extremely high. There was probably no one who could make the 10 of them give such a unified evaluation, a monster, a peerless monster. This Chu Yang was unparalleled. Hearing this, Deity felt a burst of jealousy in his heart. It was as if a piece of meat was being roasted over a fire, sizzling and tormenting. Why wasn't he such a person? Why didn't he receive such discussions, such exclamations, and such admiration? It's just that this little dog's mouth is a little poisonous. He slandered a girl's reputation like this. It's a little undesirable. His temper is a little bad. No, no, no. The 10 peak masters began to discuss Chu Yang's character again. I think Xiao Quan and Ao Shui are like a tortoise against a mung bean. They are born to be enemies. That makes sense. This little puppy only said a few words, and it could make Ao Shui so angry. If they aren't enemies, then what are they? If you put it this way, it is indeed very reasonable. That girl Ao Shuer has found someone who can control her this time. Ha ha. A group of shameless old men burst into laughter. They all forgot that Chen Aoshuer was listening below. Also, this little puppy has ruined Ao Shuer's reputation. Only he can marry Ao Shuer. Ah. Chen Aoshuer couldn't stand it anymore and screamed. Her face was completely red, and she was extremely embarrassed. She fiercely stomped her feet and immediately fled. To her, this place was simply hell. There were simply too many evil spirits there. Ha ha. The laughter from the heaven's eye became even louder. It seems like it is indeed so. This is also a good thing. With Ao Shuer tying up this little puppy, he can only obediently work like a horse for our five-element sect. When these words entered his ears, Dehu's eardrums were pierced. His heart, liver, and lungs were all pierced through as well. It was unbearable, and even more unbearable. Chapter 279. Generally speaking, according to Chen Aoshuer's character, if she was an enemy and her reputation was ruined, she would only have a murderous look on her face. She should be unmoved. This was reasonable, but what was the result? Chen Aoshuer blushed, screamed, and lost her self-control several times. Dehu couldn't remember clearly. It was impossible for him to cause such emotional fluctuations in Chen Aoshuer. He didn't have the ability to do so. If they are enemies, then what am I? In an instant, Dehu's killing intent towards Chu Yang was stronger than ever. This killing intent had nothing to do with Chu Yang's elder brother, Chu Fei. This pure killing intent was only because of Chu Yang. He had made up his mind to kill Chu Yang no matter what. This thought was very firm and unshakable. Therefore, he was waiting. Chu Yang would eventually come out of the formation and participate in the assessment. At that time, it would be the time for him to make his move. However, Dehu waited until it was dark, but Chu Yang still didn't show any signs of waking up. At this time, many disciples in the western region returned after dark. The world at night was the world of ferocious beasts. It was very dangerous, so it was not suitable to move at night. The formation was definitely the safest place. Damn it. Dehu couldn't wait any longer. He could only grit his teeth and leave. Chu Yang was indeed exhausted to the extreme. Every time he snored, it meant that his mind had been exhausted to the extreme. And his mind had indeed been exhausted to the extreme. It was his first time coming into contact with a formation, so he knew nothing about it. From the appearance of the formation, to the comprehension of every detail of the formation, to the complete understanding of the formation, and learning how to use the formation, it was all thanks to the genius martial soul and the powerful deduction of the universal globe. Among them, the consumption of the genius martial spirit was the greatest. However, this was to be expected. The comprehension of the formation was originally difficult and obscure. Chu Yang walked an unorthodox path. There was no one to guide him. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to figure out and deduce it bit by bit. Chu Yang didn't know anything about alchemy in the beginning. But he had obtained a medicinal pill. Then, he analyzed the ingredients of the medicinal pill bit by bit. After that, he learned about the medicinal pills that were required to refine the medicinal pills. But he still had to think about how to refine the medicinal pills. It was through this process that Chu Yang was able to comprehend and develop his own alchemy skills with the help of a single elixir, and become an alchemist. It was very likely that his alchemy technique was completely different from others. It was a completely new alchemy technique. It was also possible that his alchemy technique was no different from ordinary alchemy techniques. However, there was definitely something unique about him. After all, this was an alchemy technique that he had deduced and created himself. This was the same for formations. At this moment, Chu Yang had created his own formation and was gradually forming his own formation system. This was even more shocking than what the sloppy great-uncle had imagined. If he had known, Chu Yang would have been captured by him and locked in a cage. I wonder if my comprehension is correct. Finally, he had reached the most crucial step. All of Chu Yang's deductions and the embryonic form of his own formation theory had to be verified before he could say that it was a success. Let's see what happens next. I actually spent so much effort on this little girl. If I don't succeed, who knows how much more time will be wasted. Chapter 280. In the middle of the night, the Huanmo secret territory was completely dark without a trace of light. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. The wind was blowing from time to time and the roar of demon beasts could be heard from time to time. My seal technique is called Tian Yin. Chu Yang had comprehended the formation from the perspective of the right time, the right place, the right people, and the right momentum. Therefore, his hand seals were naturally closely related to these three aspects. Tian Yin, there must be at least wind, cloud, thunder, lightning, cloudy, sunny, rain, snow, and many other weather conditions. Wind, he had. Wind Killer Sword, and the wind control talent from the Wind Tiger Monster Core. Clouds, he also had. The first thing the Mahamayuri scripture cultivated was to form the 5-colored clouds. Of course, this was not possible. However, he had the innate water constitution. Water turned into chi, and chi turned into clouds. Therefore, clouds, rain, and snow were not a problem for him. Thunder and lightning were troublesome. He had never learned about thunder and lightning cultivation methods. Lack of thunder and lightning, I don't know if my Tian Yin can be formed, let's try to know. Chu Yang's real elemental energy surged, and as he began to form his own heavenly seal, not only did a bright light appear from his hand, but the array also lit up, tearing a hole in the dark curtain of the night. Because of the change in light and darkness, many disciples who were participating in the assessment immediately woke up. After all, in a place like the Huanmo secret territory, everyone was very vigilant, and at this time, they were already looking at Chu Yang with incomparable surprise. In their view, Chu Yang was definitely a weirdo, not in the assessment, but fiddled with the formation. Why did he have to fiddle with the formation at this time? I say, monkey, are you stupid? Now is the entrance assessment. You are still wasting time on the formation. The big meatball was very close to Chu Yang, and as soon as he opened his mouth, 2 voices sounded. Big meatball, why do you dare to do this to him? Wait for your good intentions to become evil again. This grandson is obviously not a plaything, just let his brain be sick. Of course, this was the eyebrowless thief and the other 2 playthings. Although Chu Yang was now making a noise, they were still not optimistic about Chu Yang. In the darkness, of course, there were not only the voices of the 3, but these voices were much more harsh than the 3. Is this idiot treating the formation as a test? Looking at his posture, you can roughly understand it, but even if he has some understanding of the formation, just like now, how many points can he get? What can he do? He is simply stupid. Don't you know another word for the best idiot? After his little trick succeeded to attract the attention of the 5 elements sect, I think he is a little stupid. Chu Yang didn't care about this. He didn't even hear it. At this moment, the heavenly seal formed by the vital essence in his hand was twisting and changing. It suddenly shrank and expanded. Soon after, it exploded with a bang and turned into a dazzling ball of light. Sure, to Chu Yang to God. Laughter, the sarcastic voices. Nay, to it, to toos. Ridiculous, is the formation so easy? Don't say that, I guess he has been studying the formation diligently before the assessment, forgetting to eat and sleep, waiting for this moment to amaze the world, so you will make him very sad. Ha. In the darkness, the laughter was particularly loud, but scared to death, your grandpa dragon. Suddenly, the voice from the heavenly eye made all the voices disappear in an instant. Some people seemed to be frozen in an instant, and their skeptical expressions were somewhat funny. Scared to death. Was what this guy did just very scary? That couldn't be. Everything that person did just now was very ordinary. How could it be so shocking? Was there something wrong with that person in the heaven's eye? Chapter 281. The person in the heaven's eye was the sloppy king, Long Phage. He was about to go crazy. Chu Yang's talent in array formation was astonishing. Therefore, he had been paying attention to Chu Yang. Moreover, He was the one who had arranged the array formation. So, he would instantly know if Chu Yang made any movements in the array formation. Oh my God, what did this little puppy do just now? He almost formed the heavenly seal. Long Face looked like he was scared to death. Even now, he still had a lingering fear, as if he had just escaped death. After a while, his mind was still in a mess. How is this possible? How could Xiao Quan skip so many seals and form the heaven seal? He was already doubting his life. Initial seal, transformation seal, fusion seal. Puppy doesn't seem to know anything about them. Fire seal, water seal, wood seal, and so on, he doesn't even know shit about them. But how did he almost form the heaven seal? He couldn't understand, he really couldn't understand. Anyone who learned formations would start with the initial seal, which was what Chu Yang said. The square spiders, round spiders, and other spiders in the formation. After that, it was the change seal. This was very simple. The square spiders would become round spiders, and round spiders would become square spiders. After that, it was the fusion of the initial seal. This was called the fusion seal. The initial seal, the transformation seal, and the fusion seal were all non-elemental seal techniques. They were also the most basic and simplest seal techniques in the formation. These three seal techniques could be said to be the foundation of the formation. Only after mastering these three seal techniques could one proceed to the next step, which was the metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, and other elemental seal techniques. Only after mastering these seals could one come into contact with the heaven, earth, and man seals. But what did Chu Yang do? What did he do? When Long Phage was learning formations, he took 3 years to learn the 3 basic seals, another 3 years to form the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth elemental seals, and another 3 years to form the heaven, earth, and man seals. The entire process took him 9 years. 9 whole years, and even then, he was still called a genius in array formations. But what was happening in front of him? He, Long Face, had studied hard for 9 years and barely managed to do it, but Xiao Quan had almost done it in less than a day. What was this? Didn't this mean that he could go and die? What a bullshit array formation genius. He was the disgrace of the array formation world. Long Fage's concept of formations was completely overturned by the scene before him. Chu Yang was doing the exact opposite. The 3 seals of heaven, earth, water, fire, and earth were followed by the seals of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, followed by the initial seal, the transformation seal, and the fusion seal. Everything went against the ironclad laws of the Tao of formations. No, I definitely can't let those formation trash know about this, especially that dog Sui Yunfu. Long Face immediately cut off the connection between the other 9 peak masters and the Heaven's Eye. This was far from enough. He muttered again, the matter of me learning array formations in the past was also a difficult problem. If this little dog knew that it was so difficult for me to learn array formations in the past, wouldn't I be embarrassed? Long Face's face reddened at the thought of how difficult it was for him to learn formations. He was so ugly. Compared to Chu Yang, he was like a maggot that struggled to move forward. Chu Yang, on the other hand, was like a real dragon that disappeared with a whoosh. I need to find a way to cover up my shameful past. But those formation trash know all about my past. While Long Face was frowning, Chu Yang was already trying to form the heaven seal again. Peng! Flames appeared in one of Chu Yang's hands and water appeared in the other. Long Face was stunned. Water and fire. Then, he exclaimed, water and fire can be yin and yang. How did Xiao Quan know to use yin and yang to form the heaven seal so quickly? Impossible, absolutely impossible, he must have guessed it. Long Face jumped up again. He was scared half to death again. Chapter 282. Chu Yang's way of thinking was completely different from Long Face. It had nothing to do with yin and yang. Even though they were essentially the same, their perspectives were completely different. To Chu Yang, water and fire were not yin and yang, but heat and cold. He was using the perspective of another world to understand the changes in the weather. In another world, the changes in the weather were related to heat and cold, airflow and air pressure. But whether it was the airflow or the air mass, they were all related to heat and cold. In the end, they were all reflected in heat and cold. Drastic changes in heat and cold, air mass changes, air pressure changes, wind, whoosh. The surging of the vital energy and the collision of the power of water and fire instantly appeared above Chu Yang's hands. Miraculously, there was actually the sound of wind. It seemed that a gust of wind had just blown past him. However, a gust of wind shouldn't have light. There shouldn't be a super small tornado on Chu Yang's hands. It's amazing. This monkey has such a miraculous thing on his hand. Under the big meatball, the eyelids of his squinted eyes were suddenly torn open, revealing his eyes. His eyes were big and round, like a glutinous rice ball, because he was shocked. The browless man, the thief, and the rest of the crowd had the same reaction. Water, when hot, becomes chi. When chi becomes chi, it rises. When cold, it turns into fog and clouds. The sound of wind could be heard from time to time. This miraculous phenomenon did not disappear, but became more obvious and intense. The light on Chu Yang's hands became more dazzling, and a few white clouds floated out. It was as if the world on his hands was clear and blue, with only a few white clouds floating leisurely, moving with the wind. At this moment, everyone's mind was drawn into that small world. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a violent wind blew, and the sky darkened in an instant. Those few white clouds turned into thick thunderclouds in the blink of an eye. Black clouds pressed down on the city, threatening to destroy it. Rumble. From Chu Yang's hand also came the rumbling of thunder, just that the sound was many times softer than the sound of thunder in the world. In addition, in the thick thundercloud in his hand, there were already flashes of lightning and thunder, and silver snakes of lightning were dancing. The formation is so magical and cool. The eyebrowless man, the meatball, the thief, everyone suddenly had the urge to learn array formations. Rumble. The rumbling of thunder became even more intense. The thick thunder cloud in Chu Yang's hand suddenly started to rain heavily. The sound of the rain made people feel as if it was raining heavily at this moment. There was even a gust of water vapor blowing in their faces, making them feel cool. The change was extremely violent and rapid. It was still a heavy summer rain, but in the blink of an eye, winter had arrived. Snow fell like goose feathers. Chu Yang's hand was already snowy white, as if a world of snow had appeared in his hand. All the mystical transformations were still rapidly changing. Winter left and spring came. The snow melted into water, and the world thawed. All living things woke up and were full of vitality. Summer arrived and autumn came. The sunlight burned the earth with fire, and then autumn came. The northern wind brought cold, and the fallen leaves rustled. Dark clouds, clear rain, spring, summer, autumn, winter, and all kinds of changes in the weather were all revealed. The changes were so fast that it was too much for the eyes to take in. Wow! The crowd suddenly let out cries of surprise. Chapter 283. Tian Mudra. This little puppy actually bypassed the three basic mudra, the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth mudra, and directly formed the Tian Mudra. Sloppy great uncle, long face reaction was the most intense. He looked like he was having an epileptic seizure. White foam was coming out of his mouth, and he was about to lie down and convulse. How is this possible? How is this possible? This doesn't make sense. It completely goes against the rules and laws of formations since ancient times. What made Sloppy Great Uncle even more incredulous was that Chu Yang's Tian Mudra seemed to be even more shocking than his. His Tian Mudra couldn't show so many scenes. However, he was soon stunned again. The Tian Mudra was formed, and the Earth Mudra was formed. Chu Yang had already started to form the Earth Mudra. Earth is earth. This is the innate earth constitution. Earth, rising from the ground, is a mountain, falling is a ravine, a natural abyss. Water is rivers, lakes, and seas. Without water, it is a desert. Flat land is a plain, rolling hills. Fertile land, with sufficient rain, it is a tropical rainforest. Gradually, it becomes a forest, grassland, and eventually a desert. All kinds of scenes appeared on Chu Yang's hand again. They changed rapidly, and soon, the Earth Mudra was formed. During this period, there was no sound, not even from Long Face. He seemed to be dead. Human mudra, the friendship, hatred, unity, conflict, and strife between humans. In short, humans are social animals. Chu Yang muttered to himself, I'm actually the best human mudra. Ripples spread out from his body. This time, he didn't make any hand seals, but there was still a strange change. Light bloomed from his body, sometimes happy, sometimes angry, sometimes shocked, sometimes fearful, sometimes indifferent, sometimes scheming. All kinds of expressions appeared on his face. Humans had emotions, and desires. The changes in emotions caused the changes in Chu Yang's body to become more intense. Suddenly, billowing black gas came out of his body. It seemed to be uneasiness, anxiety, fear, and death. It also seemed to be the clarity of all negative emotions. They turned into black gas and appeared. In the blink of an eye, the black gas on his body disappeared. Following that, his entire body became transparent and emitted a holy light. At this moment, he seemed to have broken free from the calamity and obtained great relief. His body reached the other shore, stepped into the pure land, entered the paradise, and obtained great peace and freedom. Whoosh! A light seal flew out from Chu Yang's body. This was the human seal. The three seals of heaven, earth, and man intersected in front of Chu Yang. They were extremely dazzling, and an even bigger hole was torn open in the dark night. Chu Yang's enlightenment was not over yet. My heart is the heart of the heavens. My joy and anger are the gloomy rain. When I am happy, the sky is clear and cloudless. When I am angry, thunder rumbles, dark clouds cover the city, and heavy rain falls. The heavenly seal is the human seal, and the human seal is the heavenly seal. Merge. Wang. The heaven seal and the human seal trembled. This seemed to be the vibration of the world, the frequency of the world, emitting a strange sound. Soon after, the two merged together easily. It was like water being poured into water. During this period, there were no obstructions. There were no violent collisions. It was as natural as it seemed. My heart is the earth. When I am steady, I am virtuous. When I am frivolous, I am turbulent. When the wind blows and the sand rises, the continent floats like white clouds. The earth seal is also the human seal. Merge. The earth seal also merged instantly. Just like before, when the conditions were right, success was achieved. In an instant, the three seals completely merged into one seal. It transformed into a transparent and illusory sphere, like a small world. If this is a small world, there should be all things in it. All things. Chu Yang's heart stirred. He thought of the universal millstone and the universal manifestation apparatus. As his enlightenment was poured in, the small world suddenly changed. It first became the universal millstone, then the universal manifestation apparatus. It shrunk to the extreme, like an extreme point, and only Chu Yang could sense its rotation. Ha! Man is the measure of all things. This saying is indeed true. Even the heavens and the earth need to be measured by my heart. Chapter 284. Man is the measure of all things. Even the heavens and earth need to be measured by my heart. At this moment, Chu Yang was dazzling in everyone's eyes. He was incomparably dazzling. Everything they had seen before was simply like a dream. They were also completely affected by the aura released by Chu Yang when he was comprehending. The entire process was so slow that they were petrified, as if they were hit by the body freezing technique. Even at this moment, they heard Chu Yang's laughter. The body freezing technique was still not dispelled. It was as if they were still trapped in that bizarre dream, and they did not want to wake up from it for a long time. Man is the measure of all things. Even the heavens and earth need to be measured by my heart. My heart is the heaven's heart, and the heaven's heart is my heart. My heart is the earth. The same words, in different people's ears, had completely different reactions. Of course, the images were also completely different. On the other side, the sloppy king, Long Phage, was trembling. His lips were trembling, and his eyes were bulging. He could not say a single word. Puppy actually formed the heaven seal. Puppy actually formed the earth seal. Puppy even formed the human seal. If that was all, it would be fine. However, Puppy actually managed to perfectly fuse the heaven, earth, and human seals together. Is this real? Was my eyes playing tricks on me? Or was I dreaming just now? Is there something wrong with my brain? Is there something wrong with my consciousness? Or is there something wrong with the entire world? Long Phage did not know how to describe Chu Yang, let alone evaluate him. At this moment, he had completely lost his ability to speak. His mind was blank, as if it was spasming and convulsing. Slap. The sloppy king, Long Phage, seemed to have lost his mind. Suddenly, he gave himself a big slap. His face was very hot and painful. There was also a clear handprint on his face. It's real. It's real. It's actually real. Boom. Long Phage jumped up and exploded the ground. Dust rose into the air as he screamed, "How did little dog do it? How did he do it?" Long Phage screamed, "How did he do it? How did he do it? The heaven, earth, and man seals. Even I can't combine the 3 seals into one. He's just a layman in the art of formations, but he did it in less than a day. God, are you toying with me?" At this moment, Long Face suddenly had the urge to beat up the heavens. They were both born as humans, but this damned heavens was too biased and too much of a bully. The existence of this little dog made him feel extremely unjust, and he was extremely angry at this moment. Compared to Xiao Quan, God treated him too poorly. It was as if they were both sons of the same mother, but one was raised like a treasure, while the other was drowned in the toilet bowl and killed. At this moment, Long Face's mind was replaying every single detail of what had just happened. How did Chu Yang form the heaven, earth, and man seals? How did he fuse the 3 seals? Why was Puppy able to form the heaven, earth, and man seals? Why was it so easy to fuse Puppy's heaven, earth, and man seals? Suddenly, he seemed to be touched by something. His 10 fingers began to form seals. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The heaven, earth, and man seals flew out of his body. He followed Chu Yang's method of fusing the 3 seals and carefully tried to fuse the 3 seals together. There was no intense conflict between the seals like in the past. It was also unlike in the past, when the 3 seals were about to fuse, the seals would suddenly explode. Everything he was familiar with in the past did not happen. Instead, it was a situation he had never imagined. The moment the heaven and man seals came into contact, the 2 fused into one. It was like a long-lost father and son reuniting. Long Phage was stunned. Chapter 285. Son of a bitch, why is it so easy? Son of a bitch, how can it be so easy? Long Face was so agitated that he cursed out loud. His curses were enough to pierce through the heavens. His reaction was understandable. He did not know how many times he had tried to fuse the 3 seals, but he did not know how many times he had failed. He had been stuck at this bottleneck for who knew how many years. He had even despaired, thinking that he would never be able to fuse the 3 seals into one in his lifetime. However, fate was too good at fooling people. He thought that he would never be able to do it, but now, he had done it so easily. Fusing the heaven, earth, and human seals was as easy as blowing off dust. I'm really seeing a ghost. I need to wake up. Pa. Long Face was still in disbelief. He suddenly slapped himself in the face. After a while, he looked at the fused heaven, earth, and human seals in front of him and laughed like a madman. Ha ha ha. He laughed until tears were about to fall. He had studied formations for half his life and finally fused the heaven, earth, and human seals. How could he not laugh? How could he not cry? This was a laugh of joy, but also a laugh of sadness. He had spent half his life to fuse the 3 seals, but Little Dog had done it in less than a day. What made him even angrier was that he had fused the 3 seals under Little Dog's guidance. Compared to Chu Yang, should he cry? He felt that he should cry himself to death so that he would not have to live such a tiring and difficult life. Sloppy King, why did you cut off my connection with the heavenly eye? In his consciousness, a questioning voice suddenly rang out, causing Long Face to jump and wake up immediately. He became even more anxious. No, I can't let these sharks know about this. Otherwise, they'll definitely snatch this puppy away from me. At the very least, they'll be badly injured. I'm afraid these sharks will use all kinds of dirty tricks. In just a short moment, a few more voices exploded in his consciousness. Some of them even cursed out loud. Long face, what the hell are you doing? Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. Sloppy King, you're trying to hide something. That little dog must have done something shocking, right? Is there even a need to ask? Otherwise, how could this guy be like this? Hearing this, Long Phage suddenly felt happy. If these grandsons knew about this, they would be scared out of their wits. He smirked and thought to himself, Grandpa is doing this for your own good. I don't want you to be scared out of your wits. Not everyone is as strong as Grandpa. At the same time, Long Phage immediately retorted, You bastards, you're all narrow-minded people. Little snow attacked the formation in the morning and it's not stable. I was just fixing it. Call me and I'll fix it for you. You speak as if it's true. This sloppy great king's skin is growing thicker and thicker. However, his ability to lie is truly lacking. His lies are just like everyone else's, sloppy and unbearable. None of them believed Longface nonsense. In an instant, the 9 peak masters appeared beside Longface. However, they still had not recovered their connection with the heavenly eye. Longface, do you think that the entrance examination is a game? If we lose the surveillance and something happens in the Huanmore secret territory, will you be responsible for it? Long Phage, you bastard. Have you eaten lard and lost your mind? Why do I have the urge to beat him up? It's been a long time since I fought with him. Looks like it's time again today. The sky was filled with accusations and threats. The Thousand Sword Peak's peak master, Du Guangbua, even wanted to fight with Long Fei. As for Sui Yunfu of Divine Command Peak, he was even more annoyed. He was the chief examiner of this entrance examination. How dare Long Face cut off his connection with the heavenly eye? What the hell was going on? Du Guangguang, try it. Long Face threw a disdainful look at Du Guangbua's face. Then, he showed off the light seal of the heaven, earth, and man seals and said with a smile, Let me show you what this is. What is this? Chapter 286. Sloppy King, it's just your shitty seal. Why are you showing it off? It's not like I haven't seen it before. Come, I haven't fought in a long time. Let me give you a good beating. Du Guangbua glanced at Long Face and did not find anything. He was about to teach him a lesson. TSK. Long Face looked at Du Guangbua with even more disdain. Du Guangguang, what's wrong with your eyes? You should go and change those eyes of yours, or else you'll be a disgrace. Suddenly, Sui Yunfu's body shook and he exclaimed, Heaven, earth, and human seals, this is the fusion of heaven, earth, and human seals. You broke through? Sui Yunfu looked at Long Face in shock. He knew how difficult it was to fuse the heaven, earth, and human seals. It was extremely dangerous. One careless mistake could cause serious injuries. Hehe, what do you think? At this point, Long Face resentment towards the heavens had completely disappeared. He was very pleased with himself and smiled like a flower. He then rolled up his sleeves and provoked Du Guangbua. Du Guangguang, didn't you want to fight? It just so happens that I made a breakthrough today, so I'll use you as a test subject. Brother Long, let's talk nicely. Du Guangbua knew that Long Face had broken through and was much stronger. He would not fight. Talk nicely, my ass. The two seemed to have returned to their youth. At this moment, Sui Yunfu exclaimed again. Sui Yunfu was so shocked that he even called out Long Face nickname. Insect, why are there flowers, birds, fish, insects, grass, trees, mountains, lakes, and even the sun, moon, and stars on your seal? Why are there so many scenes? Is that so? Long Face was also surprised. He looked up and was stunned. There was indeed. However, it was very illusory and blurry. His eyes widened as he thought to himself, this little puppy is really scary. The fusion of the 3 seals is one thing, but there's still Dao inside. Damn it, when I catch this little puppy, I'll have to interrogate him properly. He had just made up his mind when Sui Yunfu suddenly pulled him up. Bug, are you going to tell me or not? Du Guangbua, Sui Yunfu, and Long Face had a very good relationship. This could be seen from their words. Otherwise, if Sui Yunfu was not on good terms with Long Face, there was no way he would have been able to capture someone as serious as him. I don't know what to say. Long Face rolled his eyes, but how could he say something so embarrassing? He said with disdain, "Piss off, this is called a genius, understand? Compared to trash like you, I'm a genius. This has to do with talent. I'm that good, what can I do? Since he doesn't want to talk, I'll beat him until he does." Soon, it was a mess. Du Guangbo and Sui Yunfu had a tacit understanding. The other 7 people also gave Long Face a few blows from time to time. Long Face was beaten up by 9 people and was subdued on the ground in an instant. If the disciples of the 5 Elements sect were to see this scene, they would probably laugh their heads off. To think that the 10 peak masters would be so shameless. Bug, can you talk now? Du Guangbo smiled with squinted eyes. Long Face had no choice but to surrender. He secretly transmitted a message to his 2 bad friends. "Fuck, I really don't know. I only got the hint from that puppy. What the hell do you want me to say? I'm confused myself right now." Sui Yunfu and Du Guangbo's bodies clearly trembled, revealing shocked expressions. The other 7 peak masters knew that these 3, who were so close that they could wear pants together, must have shared a secret. They immediately spoke up. "There's nothing that can't be told. You guys do the first, I'll do the 15th in the future. I want to do the 16th, 17th, and 18th. Don't say that I didn't tell you beforehand." Generally speaking, the 10 peak masters were fighting openly and secretly, but there were few internal conflicts. Their relationship was pretty good. After Long Face heard about it, he even wanted to beat Du Guangbo and Sui Yunfu to death. It was fine if they were surprised, but why did they have to expose it? Did they know what he had just experienced? "Bastard, you're going to reveal it to the world. Piss off, you're going to be the good guy again. Tell me everything." Chapter 287. Long Face fusion of the heaven, earth, and man seals was inspired by Xiao Quan. The 7 of them were shocked and immediately said, "Long Face, restore your connection with the heaven's eye immediately. Otherwise, we'll beat you up with Du Guangguang. Whoever tries to steal Xiao Quan from me is a bastard." Long Face scolded as he restored the heaven's eye. Instantly, everything in the Western District fell into their eyes. At this moment, the Western District was in an uproar. It was a boiling cauldron of voices. Just what kind of understanding did this supreme grade gain in formations? It actually affected us so deeply, making us so absent-minded. Wind, clouds, thunder, lightning, flowers, birds, fish, insects, the sun, the moon, and the stars. All of these are visible. It can't be simple. Fortunately, this supreme grade is only amazing in formations. His cultivation is only average. When the 9 peak masters heard this, their eyes flickered. If the formation he comprehended could affect the people around him, then he must have touched the formation. Wind, clouds, thunder, lightning, flowers, birds, fishes, and insects all proved Long Face words. Therefore, when they looked at Chu Yang again, their eyes seemed to be shining. It would be strange if they didn't fight with Long Face for it. The fusion of the heaven, earth, and man seals was already amazing, especially when Chu Yang knew nothing about formations. Yet, he managed to do it in such a short time. This was simply shocking. If news of this spread, they were sure that the entire eastern wilderness would be shaken. This was definitely the most experienced formation genius in history. Brag, brag, my pride and indulgence. Brag, my pure garden will not be destroyed. Chu Yang was humming a strange tune. What kind of bullshit pride and indulgence was this? The 10 peak masters knew that Xiao Quan was showing off. Haha, I'm indeed a genius, a great genius. Chu Yang felt more and more satisfied with his heaven, earth, and man seals. The smile on his face was very despicable. Hehe, after wasting so much fucking time, I've finally figured out this damn formation. This is simply my greatest humiliation. Chu Yang was filled with righteous indignation. It was obvious that he had wasted too much time, which made him feel extremely vexed. The 10 peak masters couldn't help but want to slap him to death. If he wasn't so smug, none of them would be able to accept it. Especially since they didn't know anything about array formations. It wasn't that they hadn't tried to learn it, but it was just too difficult. Sloppy eldest uncle is probably sleeping right now. Amen, my guess is definitely not wrong. It must be so. Chuyang thought that he was smart. He kept muttering, in that case, this old geezer definitely won't know when I change the array formation. That won't do either. If the old guy finds out, he'll be so angry that he'll destroy all my modifications. Wouldn't all my hard work go to waste? Motherfucker, I have to make sure that old bastard can't change. After pondering for a moment, Chuyang smiled and immediately made a small change to the array. In just a short while, the Western Region's Rankings Board, Hidden Dragon Ranking Board, and Record Ranking Board shone brightly, and 4 dazzling words appeared on them: I am a genius. I am a genius. Chuyang raised his head and looked. After pondering for a moment, he felt that he was missing something. He muttered, being a genius is inevitable. Who doesn't know that? I don't need to advertise anymore. Got it. He snapped his fingers. Then, the 3 rankings shone brightly again. I am the most handsome. Haha, I am the most handsome. This is indeed the most suitable. I've finally told the whole world the truth. From now on, who doesn't know that I am the most handsome person in the world? This person was extremely narcissistic. The 10 peak masters thought that he could come up with some earth-shattering nickname, but in the end, he was even worse than I am a genius. Chapter 288. I'm a genius. I'm the most handsome. What a narcissistic, shameless, resounding and dazzling name, blinding everyone's eyes. The West Region examinees all looked at Chuyang strangely, feeling that this guy was obviously going to be the best. They were all speechless. However, one had to admit that this top grade was indeed one of a kind. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that he was at the bottom of the rankings in this assessment would definitely be deeply remembered by everyone. Damn, this thing is really going to be done by this hairy face monkey. It's really exciting. The thief was very envious. Damn, he's just here to show off. I'm definitely going to express my disdain for him. The one without eyebrows was also extremely unhappy. He had worked so hard for a day, but it was not as good as this guy showing off. He didn't even sweat, and his name resounded throughout the entire place. The big meatball was also envious. I think he will definitely be struck by lightning in the future. The heavens must be extremely angry with him now. Big meatball, who are you calling the best? Why don't you look at yourself first? You've already grown into a ball. This is the best. You don't have the qualifications to criticize me. Chuyang singled out the big meatball, which made the big meatball very gloomy. I want to get fat. You little thing, try it. If drinking water can make you gain weight, you will definitely be fatter than me. Besides, is it a crime for me to be fat? Bastard, you're actually discriminating against fatties. Also, big meatball, the one without eyebrows, and that thief. Chuyang singled out all 3 of them. Don't think that you can speak casually just because you're not familiar with me. I have a name. I'm the most handsome, not best or weirdo. If you speak nonsense again, I'll knock your teeth out. I have a name too. I'll never change my name. I'm Fumeat Mountain. Brother, do you dare to reveal your real name? Grandpa has a name too. I'll never change my name. I'll never change my name. I'm Qiao Yuan Liang. Brother, do you dare to reveal your real name? I have a name too. I'll never change my name. I'll never change my name. I'm Yi Gaoge. Brother, do you dare to reveal your real name? This was obvious jealousy. Chuyang understood. You 3 pieces of trash. You want to change your names and surnames. Do you have the ability? If you don't jump around. Be careful, I'll teach you a lesson. Naturally, there were people who couldn't take it anymore, mocking and ridiculing him. What's there to be cocky about? It's just a fart. His name will be changed back immediately. Isn't that so? I wonder what he is so proud of. How can the 5 Elements sect tolerate such a fool who thinks he is so smart? He's not just trying to be smart. He shows off just because he has some ability. This kind of person will definitely die the most miserable death. If he participates in the test tomorrow, I guarantee that he will die miserably. On the other hand, the 10 Peak Masters were also discussing this matter. The other 9 Peak Masters were already looking at the Sloppy King, Long Face. Sloppy King, can you change it back? Don't let that puppy make fun of you. If we can't even suppress it now, this little dog will probably ascend to heaven in the future. Long Face looked constipated. It was easy to change it, but also troublesome. As long as he admitted that he was a pig and his family was nothing, he could easily change the array. But if he didn't admit it, it would be very troublesome. The little dog's hands and feet were very sinister. If he forcefully changed it, it would cause damage and shake the entire array. I can't change it, but you guys definitely can. Chapter 289. The 9 Peak Masters' faces darkened. Admitting that he was a pig was too lenient. If they admitted it, they would become a joke. We can't let this dog go. He passed the array test and successfully modified it. I suggest we give him 10,000 points. No, 10,000 points. Give him 100,000. 100,000 isn't enough. Give him 1 million points. 1 million points. The 10 of them glanced at each other. This was a bit too much. In the past, the highest number of points one could obtain in the Huanmore secret territory was 100,000 points. Even in the later stages of the competition, winning the championship would only give them 300,000 points. 1 million points was too much. We have the final say in the points. Give it to him. Longphage said, this dog is despicable. We have to teach him a lesson. Let's add fuel to the fire. In the Huanmore secret territory, the East, South, and North districts, show the dog. Tell the 4 districts that he can get 1 million points. Agreed. Let's do it. As long as this dog doesn't die, we have to teach him a lesson. Chu Yang angered the 10 Peak Masters. Immediately, Longphage controlled the array. In an instant, all the lists in the Huanmore secret territory lit up in the night. If 3 moons had risen in the western region after Chu Yang's changes, then 15 suns would have risen in the entire Huanmore secret territory. Especially the overall list, it was even brighter. In an instant, the entire Huanmore secret territory was lit up. It was as if daytime had arrived. First place, I'm the most handsome, 1 million point. First place, I'm the most handsome, 1 million potential point. First place, I'm the most handsome, 1 million points. First place on the Hidden Dragon ranking, 1 million potential points. On the record list, I'm the most handsome's records were, best in the past, 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 and best in the history of arrays. 1 million points, this dazzling number, the entire Huanmore mystery land suddenly fell silent. Not to mention the points and potential rankings, just the record rankings, I'm the most handsome had created 6 records in one go. Not only was it shocking, but it was also very sneaky. Best in the past, shameless in the past. Boom. After a brief moment of silence, the Huanmore secret territory erupted into an uproar. Who is this I'm the most handsome? How come I've never heard of this person before? With the surname I and I am the most handsome, it's obviously not his real name. Heavens, 1 million points, 1 million potential points, 1 million points, 1 million potential points, 1 million points, 1 million potential points. How did he get it? Did he cheat? Record. He actually set 6 records at once. Is he trying to defy the heavens? When it came to records, almost everyone was rendered speechless. Just by looking at the records, there was a huge amount of information about top quality, weirdo, and shameless. The reaction from the West District was the most intense fucking, bastard, fuck you. The big meatball, the one without eyebrows, the thief, and many others couldn't take it anymore. They were all so provoked that they cursed out everything they could. Especially those who were jealous of Chu Yang and mocked Chu Yang. At this moment, seeing such a scene, they felt as if they were being burned at the stake. Is there any justice in this? 1 million points, a whole 1 million points. What did this top-grade item do? Wasn't it just showing off the top-grade item and fiddling with the array formation? How could it obtain so many points and so much potential value? These bastards, are they trying to kill me? 1,000,000 points. Chu Yang was instantly dumbfounded. Wouldn't he become the public enemy of the whole nation? Wouldn't he have to walk through a mountain of swords and a sea of fire? Then he was stunned again. A line of big words appeared above the Huanmore secret territory. Robbing is encouraged. Swish. Immediately, countless pairs of eyes from the western district stared at Chu Yang. They were like the eyes of hungry wolves in the night, glowing with a green light. Chapter 290. Encourage robbing me, the most handsome. There was more at the back, as long as you don't kill me, the most handsome. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes. What is the meaning of the 5 Elements sect's playthings? Are they toying with me? At this moment, the formation was forcibly shut down. The West region's rankings, hidden dragon rankings, and record rankings completely disappeared in mid-air. Only a single Heaven's Eye remained, waiting to see him get beaten up by a group of people. There was no need to think. The Heaven's Eye's array must have been tampered with. Chu Yang definitely wouldn't be able to merge with the array in a short period of time. Extreme. Extreme. My lord, this young master is actually so loved by all of you. Chu Yang was cursing in his heart. This mountain goat, this sloppy king, these playthings were all trash. They were too damaging. Anyway, he had already recorded this in his little notebook. He would have to return it sooner or later. Those who are not disciples of the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan, get loss. Those who are not disciples of the earth snake martial Insti Tushan, get loss. Those who are not disciples of the true martial Insti Tushan, get loss. In an instant, Chu Yang had become Tang Sanzang's meat. He looked very easy to bully, and very delicious. The Western region's 3 elite martial Insti Tushans, the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan, the earth snake non-martial Insti Tushan, and the true martial Insti Tushan had already started to clear the area. One could only hear muffled sounds, muffled groans, and continuous blood-curdling screams. Many people were sent flying in an instant. Soon, only 3 groups of people were left in the field. They were clearly divided, and surrounded Chu Yang. The fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan, the earth snake martial Insti Tushan, and the true martial Insti Tushan were the 3 giants of the western region. They had at least 300 disciples participating in the entrance exam. The 3 martial Insti Tushans had close to 1,000 people. No one was a match for them. Those who were dissatisfied were all ruthlessly crushed. Arrogant, unreasonable, and tyrannical. 1,000,000 points, split into 3 portions. The first portion will be 400,000 points, and the remaining will be 300,000 points. How about it? The leader of the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan suggested. This was a red-haired youth with a cultivation of the 4th level of the Chi Soul realm. He had a massive body like a moving iron tower. He was courageous and powerful, and his muscles were like hidden dragons. He was the fierce dragon martial Insti Tushan's Chu Feishing. Sure, but who goes first? These 400,000 points were practically picked up from the ground. Why don't the 3 of us have a match to decide who these 400,000 points belong to? The leader of the Earth Snake Martial Institution, Leng Haomiao, was also at the 4th level of the Chi Soul realm, 4 symbols origin. His body was thin and weak, and his eyes were sunken. However, it wasn't because of excessive alcohol consumption. His eyes were originally sunken, and they were overflowing with radiance, making his gaze extremely sharp. Chu Yang was already a fish on the chopping board, or a pig waiting to be slaughtered. Now they were fighting over who wanted his bones and who wanted his meat. Interesting. Chu Yang looked on coldly. He was only at the 4th level of the Chi Soul realm, 4 divisions, and yet he dared to be so arrogant. The 3 of us are all at the 4th level of the Chi Soul stage, 4 divisions. When will the victor be decided? If there is any delay, the eastern, southern, and northern regions will all rush over. Let alone 400,000 points, I'm afraid we won't even be able to get half a point. The one who spoke was naturally the leader of the true martial institution, Ma Kangsheng. He had a face full of pockmarks, and he said, "This peak-grade item can be said to be a blessing from the heavens to our three major martial institutions. Therefore, we should be competing with luck. I suggest we draw lots, and whoever catches it will get it." From the beginning to the end, whether it was Chu Feishing, Leng Haomiao, or Ma Kangsheng, none of them looked at Chu Yang directly. The disciples of the three major martial institutions were even more excited. This was the advantage of the three major martial institutions. No one could defeat them, and no one dared to have an opinion. The other martial institutions, as well as the outsiders participating in the five elements sex assessment, were angry, unwilling, and felt that it was unfair. They all felt that they had missed a great opportunity, and even regretted that they had missed such a good opportunity. They really wanted to fight it out with the three major martial institutions, but they weren't a match for them. Chapter 291. That makes sense. Sure. Chu Feishing and Leng Haomiao immediately agreed. They were afraid that the other three districts would come and snatch it, and this was indeed a good solution. The three of them immediately drew lots, and in the end, the Earth Snake Martial Institution's Leng Haomiao won. Ha, Chu Feishing, Ma Kangsheng, you admit it. Leng Haomiao was overjoyed and laughed heartily. Chu Feishing and Ma Kangsheng were extremely unhappy and couldn't help but snort. Leng Haomiao, don't waste too much time. If you can't get this supreme grade item within 15 minutes, it means that you are not capable enough. These 400,000 points will no longer belong to you. That's right, Leng Haomiao. You can object 15 minutes? Leng Haomiao sneered, do I need 15 minutes to deal with a trash like this? If I can't do it within a breath's time, you don't have to say anything. I will voluntarily give up these 400,000 points. Supreme grade. Leng Haomiao had already turned around and looked at Chu Yang with disdain. Are you going to hand over the points yourself, or do I have to take them myself? Leng Haomiao looked down at Chu Yang with disdain. He didn't even take Chu Yang seriously. Chu Yang, who hadn't spoken since the beginning, finally spoke, "Skin and bones, I despise you. I can tell that you are a pauper with one look." He was as frivolous and arrogant as usual, which shocked everyone. Many people didn't understand what he meant, but if the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution's disciples were here, they would instantly understand. Also, that blockhead, his face is full of pockmarks. Chu Yang pointed at the two of them and said, "You guys look like paupers too. This is making me feel bad. Can't you guys be a little more nouveau riche?" Almost everyone was speechless. This supreme grade dared to be so arrogant at this moment. Could it be that he couldn't see the situation clearly? Or was he deceiving himself and drugging himself? Many people couldn't help but sneak a peek at Chu Yang, judging his cultivation level. Their judgment was almost unanimous. He should be at the first tier of the Chi Soul stage, or at most the second tier. It was impossible for him to be higher than that. Su Pin was indeed talented in the art of formations, and his cultivation was not bad. However, when faced with Chu Feishing, Leng Haomiao, and Ma Kangsheng, who were at the fourth level of the Chi Soul realm, his cultivation was still too weak. He would not be able to withstand a single blow. He's dead for sure. He actually dared to call senior brother Ma pockmarked. It's a pity that senior martial brother Ma didn't get the first lot. Also, it's impossible to kill him. It wasn't only the true martial arts institution who thought so. If the Five Elements sect hadn't made a special request, they would have thought that Chu Yang was already a dead man. Chu Feishing was an idiot. Leng Haomiao was all skin and bones. Ma Kangsheng's face was full of pockmarks. Who would dare to be so disrespectful to the three great martial institutions and look down on them in such a manner? This was simply courting death. Big meatball, no eyebrows, and a thick thief. They realized that Su Pin seemed to have been merciful when he gave them nicknames. Su Pin's mouth was poisonous, but it was useless no matter how poisonous his mouth was. His fist was the truth. Therefore, they couldn't understand why Chu Yang dared to be so unyielding and even arrogant. However, what made them even more dumbfounded was Ka. Chu Yang clenched his fists, which made cracking sounds. He pointed his finger at Lung Haomiao and ordered, "Come here. Kneel down and bark like a dog. Treat it as tuition. I'll teach you how to be a man later." Everyone in the field was stunned into silence. They were all stunned. Arrogant. Who was more arrogant than who? Su Pin was even more arrogant than the three great martial institutions. He was even more overbearing and rude. And the other two. "Go and line up immediately." Chu Yang pointed at Chu Feixing and Ma Kangxing. "Later, I'll teach you poor bastards how to be a man one by one. Although I don't want to because you're all poor bastards, I have no choice. I have a bad habit, which is to teach others." Where did your confidence come from? Could it be that you're relying on the best quality items? Chapter 292. Boom. Chu Yang's words were extremely arrogant. It was as if he had knocked down a mountain. The rocks started to roll down with a rumbling sound. Everyone was in an uproar. What right does this guy have to be so arrogant? Where does his confidence come from? He can't be thinking of defeating Lung Haomiao and the rest of the three martial institutions with a supreme weapon, right? Anyway, I'm convinced by him. Mph, what an idiot. He still doesn't know what he's doing. Everyone could already imagine how Chu Yang would feel later. Although the higher-ups of the Five Elements sect had told them not to kill anyone, sometimes it would be better to die. Lung Haomiao was pointed at and ordered by Chu Yang, and he couldn't help but be angry. "It seems that you won't give up until you see the coffin." Boom. Lung Haomiao attacked directly. He looked thin, like a bag of bones, but he seemed to be very heavy. When he moved, he was like a mountain, and the ground rumbled. Swish. His speed was extremely fast. After his figure completely disappeared from the spot, the ground under his feet, which had been crushed by his tremendous strength, only then did the dust rise into the sky. He was fast, but Chu Yang was faster. Whoosh. Suddenly, the sound of wind rushed into everyone's ears. It seemed that Chu Yang had rolled up a hurricane, and his speed was so fast that only his afterimage could be seen. Boom. In an instant, the two of them attacked each other. Like two giant beasts, they violently collided with each other, and a dazzling light burst out. Immediately, the ground under their feet exploded, and countless dust rose into the sky, completely drowning the two of them. Bang, 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 banged. The two of them couldn't be seen, and only loud noises could be heard. It seemed that the two of them were fighting fiercely at this moment. Dust rose into the sky, and the ground under their feet was shaking non-stop. However, it was a little strange. The sound didn't seem to be the sound of fists and feet colliding. Immediately after, someone's body suddenly trembled, and even completely froze. Through the thin smoke that filled the air, he could faintly see a person lifting another person up, and using him as a sledgehammer, repeatedly smashing him on the ground. The constant shaking of the ground was caused by this. This was also the reason why the dust kept rising. Someone had already been defeated. This was very clear, and there was nothing to say. However, the person who was smashed didn't seem to be that exceptional individual. Instead, it seemed to be the earth snake martial institution's Lung Haomiao. Lung Haomiao's lean and bony figure was very easy to recognize. How is this possible? My eyes must be playing tricks on me. He did not make a sound, because he even suspected that he had seen wrongly. And at this moment, with a whoosh, from the dust that filled the sky, a person dragged a dead dog and quickly rushed to the front of the nearest mountain. At this moment, not only did this person see it clearly, but everyone else also saw it clearly. The person dragging a dead dog in his hand was none other than top grade. The dead dog that was being dragged was actually the Earth Snake Martial Institution's Lung Haomiao. In the blink of an eye, Lung Haomiao was beaten into a dead dog. How was this possible? At this moment, everyone was completely dumbfounded. Then, something that made them even more dumbfounded happened. Chu Yang picked up Lung Haomiao and smashed him into the mountain. Boom, boom, boom. There was a series of loud sounds. Every loud sound was so shocking that it shook one's mind. The moment every loud sound echoed, not only did everyone's eyelids suddenly twitch, but their heartbeats also seemed to stop abruptly. Shuddering even though it wasn't cold. When everyone saw this scene, They felt as though they were being used as a sledgehammer and smashed into the mountain. Their bones and tendons were all broken, and they were in extreme pain. This scene was too brutal. That top grade was simply too brutal. Skin and bones. Are you too hard, or is this mountain too soft? Another deep pit was smashed out. I am not a fucking digging a pit. It sounded funny, but no one at the scene could laugh. There were even some people who had yet to regain their senses. They did not even know what had happened. It was very simple. Chu Yang was a physique cultivator, and so was Lung Hao Miao. Lung Hao Miao had the strength of 1 dragon and 5 elephants. He wanted to use his strength to crush Chu Yang, but he found the wrong person and was directly crushed by Chu Yang. Then, Chu Yang used him as a hammer to smash the ground. It was that simple. One careless move and the whole game was lost. If he had not underestimated Chu Yang so much, he might not have lost so quickly and so miserably. Damn it, I forgot that you didn't bark like a dog just now. I didn't even pay for teaching you. After teaching you for so long, I feel that I am an extremely great teacher. I actually spared no effort to educate you like this. Whoosh. Chu Yang dragged Lung Hao Miao back and threw him. When everyone looked over, Lung Hao Miao's body was like mud and he was bleeding from his 7 orifices. However, he did not faint. Indeed, he was extremely strong. After being smashed like that, he did not die and was even conscious. One could imagine how strong he was. Chapter 293. Chu Yang's cold eyes were like lightning as he sneered at Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng. In an instant, Ma Kangsheng and Chu Feixing subconsciously moved closer to each other. They were afraid that Chu Yang would defeat them one by one and end up like Lung Hao Miao. Whether it was Chu Feixing or Ma Kangsheng, they felt an immense pressure and even fear. This time, it wasn't as simple as meeting an iron plate. They had barged into a tiger's den and were still clamoring for no reason. Fuck you. The big meatball was dumbfounded. Countless vulgarities were raging in his heart. He simply couldn't believe it. The eyebrowless guy was completely petrified. This supreme grade was actually so strong, and so ridiculously strong. Lung Hao Miao of the Earth Snake Martial Institution was instantly killed by him. The thief's entire body was trembling. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. This guy was simply too cruel and savage. Not only them, but many people's legs and stomachs were trembling. Who didn't know what was going on? Who said that this guy was a supreme grade and that he was retarded? This supreme grade was obviously very vengeful. Anyone with eyes would know, and Lung Hao Miao was the best example. The scene was silent because no one dared to make a sound. Chu Yang was like a ferocious tiger as he stared at Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng. The two of you can pay the tuition fees first. I will teach you how to behave later. Chu Yang smiled, revealing his white teeth. Everyone was shocked and took a step back. His white teeth were like the sharp fangs of a devil. Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng's nerves were completely stretched. They couldn't see through Chu Yang's strength. The exchange between Chu Yang and Lung Hao Miao was too short, so they couldn't see anything. However, the two of them were sure of one thing: to be able to instantly kill Lung Hao Miao. This supreme grade strength was absolutely astonishing. Although it could not be ruled out that Lung Hao Miao had misjudged Chu Yang's strength, and Chu Yang seized the opportunity to defeat him in one blow, even so, the strength of this superb level was definitely not to be underestimated. This was also where Chu Yang's advantage lay. The other party did not know his specific strength, but Chu Yang could see through them clearly. What's wrong? You're not even willing to pay the school fees? Then I'll teach you guys why you have to pay the school fees. Whoosh. Chu Yang had used his somersault cloud. At this moment, everyone felt as though Chu Yang had disappeared into thin air. Suddenly, they completely lost sight of Chu Yang. When they tried to search for him, they couldn't find him. By the time they heard Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng's exclamations and looked over, they found that Chu Yang had already appeared between Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng. They were all overwhelmed with shock. How did he get there? How did he do it? The distance was not long, but the speed was so fast and unpredictable that it was extremely shocking. That's impossible. That should be impossible. This is too bizarre. What did he do just now? How could he do this? Could it be that he just passed by invisibly? Such a movement technique is simply shocking. Everyone was shocked, and their hearts were in turmoil. Chu Yang's move had almost broken their hearts. If Chu Yang had gotten so close to them, wouldn't they have instantly become Leng Haomiao? It was completely impossible to defend against. Everyone now somewhat understood why Leng Haomiao was so miserable. It was not that he was not strong, but that his enemy was too strong. Leng Haomiao did not provoke a tiger or a dragon, but seemed to be the celestial emperor above the 9 heavens, the gods of the gods' realm. Chapter 294. Chu Yang's speed was really too fast. He filled the natural moat between the heaven and earth bridges, and under his feet became the road to heaven. He stepped on the void and crossed the natural moat as if he was stepping on flat ground. He could cross the natural moat, and in the future, he could cross the sea of bitterness and reach the shore of the other side. This was the embryonic form of his great supernatural power. How could his speed not be fast? Chu Yang used this trump card to quickly get rid of these two people. Ma Kangsheng and Chu Feisheng deeply felt Chu Yang's terror at this moment. He can actually be so fast here. It's like teleportation. Whether it was Ma Kangsheng, Chu Feisheng, or Chu Yang, they all tensed up and guarded tightly. However, Chu Yang's terrifying speed still caught them off guard. It was as if the two of them had always been under Chu Yang's devil's claws, and had never been able to break free. By the time they reacted, Chu Yang's hands had already grabbed their heads. Just as the two of them were about to launch a fierce attack and risk everything to perish together with Chu Yang, they suddenly found their bodies twisting uncontrollably. Then, Chu Feisheng saw Ma Kangsheng's pockmarked face, and Ma Kangsheng also saw Chu Feisheng's rough face. Clang! Chu Yang grabbed the two people's heads and slammed their faces together. In an instant, whether it was Chu Feisheng or Ma Kangsheng, at this moment, they saw stars. Not only did the stars come out, but the moon and the sun also came out. Their brains were suddenly shaken by such a huge shock. They jumped fiercely, as if they wanted to rush out from the top of their heads and go straight to the 9th heaven. How could the two of them still use their fierce attacks? Now, they wanted to perish together with Chu Yang, but they could not. Bang 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 bang! Chu Yang grabbed the two people's heads, as if he was holding a pair of copper cymbals and madly hitting them, playing a scalp-numbing and terrifying music. The melody was the sound of flesh and bones. Ka. Many people's teeth were already chattering. It was too cruel, too brutal, too bloody. Chu Feisheng and Ma Kangsheng's faces were lacerated, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. People could even clearly see the bones on their faces. Such a scene shocked many people. Chu Feisheng was too pitiful. Ma Kangsheng was too pitiful. It was too miserable. The two of them were even more miserable than Leng Haomiao. However, even though Chu Yang was so brutal, no one dared to make a sound. That was because just now, whether it was Leng Haomiao, Chu Feisheng, or Ma Kangsheng, all three of them were too arrogant and unreasonable. The three major martial institutions were also extremely unreasonable and overbearing. Not only did they clear the area, but they also beat people up. Now, who would speak up for them? Those who had been injured by the three great martial institutions were now in an even better mood. The resentment in their hearts had been greatly vented. Especially when people recalled the words of Ma Kangsheng and the other two, they no longer felt that they were so pitiful. This person was the heaven's favor for their three great martial institutions. Was it the heaven's favor? If it was the heaven's favor, then it was the heaven's favor for them and the three great martial institutions' favor. As for those who were regretful that they didn't get a share of the 1 million points, they were now rejoicing. They were thankful that the three great martial institutions had cleared them out. Otherwise, they would have had a share in the current situation. Bang! Chu Yang threw the two of them away. Then, he stomped on their chests as if he was stepping on two boats. Their internal organs were also seriously injured. Even if the two of them had a good brain, they probably wouldn't be able to fight back. Seeing the two badly mutilated faces, the crowd couldn't help but be scared out of their wits. Chu Feisheng and Ma Kangsheng's faces didn't have any intact skin. The flesh on their faces was almost gone. At first glance, the bones of their faces were already exposed. Miserable, 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 miserable. It was definitely not something that could be described with just the word tragic. Why are you still standing there like idiots? Hurry up and kill this bastard. Lung Haomiao's voice. He had finally recovered and was actually able to roar. At this moment, none of the disciples of the three great martial institutions moved. This simply angered Lung Haomiao to death. Do you think that this devil won't make a move on you after taking care of us? If you don't make a move now, you will die later. He is definitely not a match for so many of you. Do it, hurry up and do it. Chapter 295. Yes, he is only one person. No matter how strong he is, how can he be a match for so many people from the three major martial institutions? We have 1,000 people from the three major martial institutions. How can we not be a match for him? Many ants can bite an elephant to death. He is only one person. Why should we fear him? In the three major martial institutions, apart from the leaders like Lung Haomiao, Chu Feixing, and Ma Kangsheng, there were many other core forces and powerful individuals. When they stood out, they instantly stabilized the situation and boosted the morale of the three major martial institutions' disciples. The Ferocious Dragon Martial Institution, the Earth Snake Martial Institution, and the True Martial Institution could be said to be united against a common enemy. Their aura instantly shook the sky. Yes, he is only one person. Why should we be afraid of him? Kill him and take revenge for senior brother Leng and the others. More people clamored, and the aura of the three major martial institutions' disciples became even more aggressive. Stubborn, Chu Yang squinted his eyes. Why did he quickly defeat Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng? How could he allow the three major martial institutions' disciples to have their way? Two damned dogs. How dare you speak and act so recklessly? Chu Yang treated Ma Kangsheng and Chu Feixing like two sledgehammers and swung them around. He charged into the crowd and smashed anyone he saw. When there were too many people, he directly swung the two of them. Sometimes, they were like two spinning windmills. Sometimes, they were like a rapidly spinning millstone. Sometimes, they were like a cutting machine. When they were hit, they were sent flying. When they were hit, they were injured. Some were even thrown into the sky. All of a sudden, the disciples of the three major martial institutions were like a school of fish that rushed out of the water. Many of them screamed and soared into the sky. Damn it! The fourth-level Chi Soul Realm experts of the three major martial institutions gritted their teeth and were filled with hatred. Chu Yang used Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng as his weapons, binding their hands and feet. They couldn't even use their full strength. The scene in front of them frightened them. Chu Yang was simply too brutal and too powerful. He was like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. Wherever Chu Yang went, that area would be swept away in an instant, and in just an instant, hundreds of people were swept away by him. He was slightly worried that if the two big hammers were killed, he would be pursued by the Five-Element sect. He quickly tossed Ma Kangsheng and Chu Feixing aside and grabbed those fourth-level Chi Soul Realm martial artists from the three major martial institutions to replace Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng. Just like this, Chu Yang continued to sweep and repeat. It didn't take long before almost all of the three great martial institutions had fallen and were lying in a pile. Run. He's a demon. We are no match for him. No matter what, it's impossible for him to be a match for him. It would be a waste to go up there. The voice of the person who spoke was trembling as they were completely frightened. When the three major martial institutions were left with 300 to 400 people, the disciples of the three major martial institutions finally collapsed and fled in all directions. HMPH run? Where do you think you're going? Chu Yang chased after them. He did not want to let go of any of the main forces that had resisted him, who were all at the third or fourth stage of the Chi Soul realm from the three great martial institutions. Very quickly, the scene turned into a wolf chasing after a flock of sheep. There were continuous screams as people were swung up like hammers and smashed into others. The louder the screams, the more miserable they were. The more they jumped, the more miserable they were. The more they jumped, the more miserable they were. Like a whirlwind, most of the 300 to 400 people managed to escape. However, Chu Yang's objective was achieved. Those who escaped were all small fries. Those who were relatively stronger, especially those who were supporting the 3 major martial institutions, were all pressed to the ground by him. When they came into contact with the ground, they were fiercely rubbed against each other. "Are you satisfied now?" Leng Haomiao was the first, but he was also the last. He was the one who spoke and caused the explosion. Chu Yang wouldn't let him go so easily. There was nothing else to say. Chu Yang grabbed Leng Haomiao's head and slammed it against the ground. It seemed to be more comprehensive and more miserable than when Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng collided with each other face to face. As for Chu Feixing and Ma Kangsheng, they were used as weapons. Naturally, the outcome wasn't any better. The two of them were almost out of breath. At this point, the ferocious Dragon Martial Institution, the Earth Snake Martial Institution, and the True Martial Institution were all annihilated. This is bad. Chapter 296. It was just broken. It was broken long ago. The Fierce Dragon Martial Institution, the Earth Snake Martial Institution, and the True Martial Institution, the 3 martial institutions had been swept clean, and many of them were severely injured. The Western region's assessment could be said to have completely collapsed. Sui Yunfu's words were simply nonsense. As for Chu Yang's brutality just now, the 9 peak masters were also dumbfounded. They had never expected Chu Yang's strength to be so shocking. Not only was his talent in the art of formations peerless, but his martial arts were also the same. Just thinking about it made them feel relieved. This little dog's comprehension ability was so astonishing, and it was as easy as walking on flat ground in array formation. Wouldn't he be even more proficient in martial Dao? Therefore, not only were they shocked, but their hearts were burning with passion. If this little dog became their disciple, they would be able to look down on all the peaks. I'm afraid it won't be as simple as the Western region falling into his hands. I'm afraid the Eastern, Southern, and Northern regions will all fall into this little dog's hands. Sui Yunfu said worriedly and pointed his finger at the heavenly eye. At this moment, after Chu Yang skillfully swept clean Leng Haomiao, Chu Feixing, and Ma Kangsheng, he was also sweeping the disciples of the 3 martial institutions one by one. Even if a mosquito's meat was meat, it was still meat. With this little dog's character, do you think he will continue? The other 9 peak masters were dumbfounded. There was no doubt about it. With the addition of the 1 million points, the martial institutions in the Eastern, Southern, and Northern regions would be like moths to a flame. They could already foresee the consequences. If everyone was defeated by this little dog, what was the point of the assessment? Their judgment wasn't wrong at all. Through the heavenly eye, they could clearly hear Chu Yang giving an order to the surrounding people. Quickly go and dig a few big holes and bury all the awesome people of the 3 martial institutions. Try to clean up the battlefield as soon as possible. Bury. All the people of the 3 martial institutions were buried. The people from the Western District were all shocked. Was he going to kill them all? That heaven-defying array genius seemed to have said something about not killing anyone. Was it that point? The big meatball was almost stuttering. This grandson was too savage, and his savagery was beyond the horizon. That's right, the almighty array formation genius. You'd better take it easy. The most handsome man in history. Digging a hole is no problem, but shouldn't we think about burying him again? The man without eyebrows and the thief said cautiously. At this moment, only the 3 of them dared to speak. After all, nearly 1,000 people were buried. It was too much of a sin. Chu Yang narrowed his eyes. We didn't kill them. We just buried them. What does their deaths have to do with me? The 3 great martial academies are extremely powerful. How could they be buried alive? If they are dead, then it can only mean one thing: they are too powerful, so powerful that they don't want to live anymore. Your grandpa's reason is so powerful. The 3 major martial institutions were truly courting death. Why did you have to be so boastful? This was especially true for Leng Haomiao, Chu Feixing, and Ma Kangsheng. Of all things, They had to draw lots in front of this grandson to decide who would deal with him. At this moment, the disciples of the three martial institutions couldn't help but be terrified. Lung Haomiao and the other two only had half a breath left. When they heard Chu Yang's words, they almost died. Why are you still in a daze? Hurry up and do it. Chu Yang's eyes straightened. Do you want me to rob you first and then bury you first as a demonstration? Everyone was shocked. This thing was really capable of doing such a thing. Soon, someone immediately went to dig a hole. Then, the construction started in full swing. Chapter 297. Chu Yang sat on top of a small mountain and continued casually, "It's just digging a hole. Don't think that you've suffered a big loss. I'll sweep through the 3 awesome martial academies, and the rest of you dregs will be left. You guys can be kings in a mountain without tigers." These words made sense, and the eyes of the people digging the hole couldn't help but light up. Also, you guys have to do well. The 3 districts in the east, south, and north came in a hubbub and didn't find anything fishy. I'll rob them, and you guys will bury them. Chu Yang laughed sinisterly. Think about it. Not only in the west district, but in the entire Huanmo secret realm, you monkeys can try to be kings. Therefore, digging holes is very promising. Damn. The people who were digging holes were all shocked. This bastard was actually so crazy that he wanted to sweep through the 4 districts of the east, west, north, and south. Their digging of holes was just the beginning. Although his words were rough, they were reasonable. They admitted that Chu Yang's words were true. Some people suddenly dug even harder. Anyway, it wasn't their fault. They were forced. They just didn't want to be buried. The 5 Elements sect didn't want to mess with them. They wanted to mess with this grandson. Then, they could stand out in this assessment. This quickly became the hearts of most people. Generally speaking, standing out had nothing to do with them. Now, they saw hope. They also felt that these words were extremely insightful. It's better to die than to die. I beg you, let me go. We were also forced. I beg you, let us go. I have an 8-year-old mother and a 2 or 3-year-old child. I'm the most handsome. Please be magnanimous and let me go. It doesn't matter if you kill me, but my mother won't be able to live. You're so kind. Let me go and save my family. An 8-year-old mother and a 2 or 3-year-old child. Chu Yang actually heard such interesting words. His interest was piqued. Amidst the crying and bitter tears, he pulled this person out. But, as soon as he saw him, he directly slapped him and said with a smile, "I was very moved when I heard this. Grandson, you're only 18 or 19 years old, but your mother is 80 years old. Come, bury this thing for me first." Woo woo. The man cried bitterly, "I'm the most handsome. I really have an 8-year-old mother. My father had a son when he was old. Bury him upside down." Chu Yang glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. He had come up with a new method of burying people, and it was a step further. The man screamed in fright like a pig that was about to be slaughtered. "I'm talking about the one I'm the most handsome. What if he really has an 80-year-old mother?" The big meatball also felt that this person's reason of having an 8-year-old mother was ridiculous, but he still spoke up. This person was not the main culprit. If they buried him, then so be it. How could they blame it on him? How immoral. Come on, let's bury this big meatball upside down. The fat on the meatball's body seemed to be electrified as it rose and fell like waves. With a whoosh, the 80-year-old thing was directly planted into the pit. Its movements were so fast that the fat on its body seemed to have turned into wings at this moment. "I'm the most handsome. You are indeed wise. You can tell that I'm the most despicable at a glance. Seeing that I'm so proactive, even if I don't have any merits, at least I've worked hard. Allow me to be the one to bury this person." Monkey and the one with no eyebrows immediately dragged one of them into the pit. Many people did the same when they saw this. Chu Yang glanced at the big meatball. "Look, there are many people who want to bury people. We don't need you, right? The browless guy and the thief, you 2 bastards. What does this have to do with you? Why are you so proactive? Why are you leading the trend? The meatball was on the verge of tears. Then, he suddenly had an idea and said, omnipotent, handsome, elegant, tall, mighty, I'm the most handsome. I can be a meatball. After I'm buried, I'll just roll around and I'll be able to compress the ground. What a talent. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, that's not bad. Even I feel that it's a novel idea. Big meatball, you've finally found your strengths and characteristics. From now on, you will be my professional road roller. Do well, I have high hopes for you. Chapter 298. Rumble. When Chu Yang was about to bury them, the entire illusory demon secret realm was filled with thunderous rumbles. It was as though the heavens were enraged. The 5 heavens' eyes above the illusory demon secret realm suddenly shone brightly. TSK, they finally can't sit still. Chu Yang glanced at the heavens' eyes in disdain. At this moment, the 5 sky eyes in the sky had already displayed the shocking scene in the Western District one by one in front of everyone, causing everyone to be shocked. Chu Yang defeated the fierce dragon marshal Insti Tushan's Lung Haomiao and used his hammer to smash the earth-drooping mountain. Chu Yang treated Chu Feishing and Ma Kangsheng like cymbals. He grabbed their heads and smashed them like cymbals. Chu Yang defeated the fierce dragon marshal Insti Tushan, the earth snake marshal Insti Tushan, the true marshal Insti Tushan, and the other 3 marshal Insti Tushans in the western region. Then, he sat on top of a small mountain with his head held high. This scene caused the entire illusory demon secret realm to suck in a breath of cold air. Was the I'm the most handsome in the heavens' eyes still human? After a short moment of silence, the entire illusory demon secret realm exclaimed. The fierce dragon marshal Insti Tushan is one of the 3 strongest marshal Insti Tushans in the western region. They are very powerful. However, their leader, Lung Haomiao, was instantly crushed by I'm the most handsome and used as a hammer. Miserable, it was too miserable. The number 1 influential figure of the fierce dragon marshal Insti Tushan had actually fallen to such a state. Chu Feishing and Ma Kangsheng of the earth snake marshal Insti Tushan and the true marshal Insti Tushan were also defeated by I'm the most handsome. They were even more miserable. It seemed like no one knew the upper limit of Chu Yang's strength. The earth snake marshal Insti Tushan and the true marshal Insti Tushan were easily crushed. They looked so pitiful and weak. 1 against 1,000, and he crushed them all in such a short time. What kind of combat strength does he have? The brutal scene caused many people to hold their breaths. This I'm the most handsome was too strong. It exploded. The 3 districts in the east, south, and north had completely exploded. Who is this I'm the most handsome? He is so strong that it is outrageous. It's simply too brutal, too savage. He was beaten to such a state. Heavens, is he still a human? Why? Why is there such a despairing monster in our year? If one were to ask who was most familiar with the scene in the heavenly eye, it would naturally be the people from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. In an instant, the disciples of the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution couldn't help but look at each other. They had the same feeling as Li Hao. Brother. Brothers, that curly beard is just a facade. I think that's our junior brother Chu. I don't believe that our junior brother Chu doesn't know how to disguise himself. That should be our junior brother Chu without a doubt. There's no doubt about it. The corners of his mouth curled up. That mocking expression of his is very familiar to me. Chu Na was already gritting her teeth. Others might not be able to confirm it, but how could she not recognize her own brother? That crafty gaze, that mocking expression, and that sloppy attitude. She was especially familiar with the small movements of Chu Yang's body. Damned little sheep, you're itching for a beating if you don't do anything for a day. Her angry scolding made Li Hao, Zhong Tian, and the others feel pity for her. With such a troublesome younger brother, it was not easy to be an older sister. Immediately after, they warned the disciples of the Coiling Dragon Martial Insti Tushan, all of you better watch your mouths and don't spread rumors. How is this our junior brother Chu? Does our junior brother Chu look like this? Haha. Chapter 299. Bury them all. Chu Yang was going to kill everyone in the western region's 3 major martial institutions. When this scene appeared, everyone was shocked. Don't look at me with such resentment. After I destroy the 3 major martial institutions, it will be time for you monkeys to become kings. Such words instantly made many people envious and hated that they weren't in the western region. When they heard that Chu Yang was going to scam the 3 major martial institutions in the eastern, southern, and northern regions, they were excited again. However, it was an empty joy. This was already announced to the entire illusionary demon hidden domain. What else could there be? That damned big meatball. It's not like he is going to bury thousands of people. Why is he so concerned? If I were to meet him, I would definitely cut him up. There is also that guy without eyebrows and that thief. What does this have to do with them? Why are they grumbling? Can't they hurry up and dig a hole? If I were in the western region, I would definitely be an expert at digging holes. If I claimed to be second in digging holes, no one would dare to claim to be first. Many people hated the big meatball, the guy without eyebrows, and the thief. If they didn't grumble and move faster, the 3 major martial institutions on their side might be buried just like the 3 major martial institutions in the western region. The 3 major martial institutions in the eastern, southern, and northern regions couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. That was close. Fortunately, they were half a beat slower. The fierce dragon martial institution, the earth snake martial institution, and the true martial institution were too miserable. They almost became the next fierce dragon martial institution, the next earth snake martial institution, or the true martial institution. If that was the case, it would be worse than death. They rejoiced again. Rumble. In the sky, thunder rumbled again. Everyone noticed that the 3 rankings in the western region had appeared again. Subsequently, all the rankings in the illusionary demon hidden domain bloomed with more dazzling radiance than ever before. I am the most handsome, rank 1, 2 million point. I am the most handsome, rank 1, 2 million potential value. 2 million points. 2 million potential value. Everyone's minds buzzed endlessly. Since the establishment of the 5-element sect, such a number of points had probably never appeared in the entrance exam. The light on the record ranking board immediately covered the points ranking board and the hidden dragon ranking board. Many records were displayed. I am the most handsome, the most brutal, the most accumulated, and the most potential. It was the most brutal. All of the participating disciples felt that these words were too accurate. They even felt that these words were not enough to describe the situation. Other things aside, Chu Yang's points, his potential value, and the records he had created were all extremely brutal. 2 million points, 2 million potential value, such a heaven-defying record, perhaps from now on, no one would be able to break it. You don't know what 1 million points are, but now you know what 2 million points are. The rumbling sound resounded throughout the Huanmo secret territory, shocking everyone. Many people suddenly woke up from their stupor. Yes, how could a person who could obtain 1 million points be ordinary? They actually planned to rob such a person's points. Weren't they courting death? As for the fierce dragon martial institution, the earth snake martial institution, and the true martial institution, they actually treated such a person as being blessed by the heavens. They even drew lots in front of him to decide who would be blessed by the heavens. If they didn't die, who would? They deserved to die. In an instant, almost everyone had the same thought. They suddenly didn't feel that the fierce dragon martial institution was pitiful. They were courting their own deaths. One must be honest. One cannot be too fierce dragon martial institution. One must keep a low profile. One cannot be too earth snake martial institution. Don't be too arrogant. Even if you are arrogant, one cannot be too true martial institution. Not only did the 3 martial institutions become a joke, but they also became the role model for all the participating disciples. Chapter 300. 2 million points. 2 million potential value. These points could only be seen but not used. As for the title of I'm the most handsome, it could only be used to rob others. If Chu Yang dared to admit that he was I'm the most handsome, he felt that it would be very interesting. There would definitely be people coming to visit him every day. He would never doubt this. As for the 5 Elements sect's people, such as the goatee or the sloppy king, it didn't matter how they looked at him. He quickly waved his sleeves and left them behind. All right, stop digging and planting. I'm very sorry to inform you that you no longer have a chance. The fierce dragon Marshal Insti Tushan, the earth snake Marshal Insti Tushan, and the true Marshal Insti Tushan had escaped from death. Many of them were already crying and sobbing. The big meatball, the thief, and the eyebrowless man were all sighing. Crying. Only now do you know how to cry. What were you doing just now? Why were you so arrogant? Many of them were secretly lamenting that it was a pity. If the people from the east, south, and north districts were all cheated, it would be a great thing. They would have a much better chance in this 5 Elements sect's entrance exam. Unfortunately, it didn't go as they wished. Let me ask you something. Instantly, all the ninjas quivered and were thinking of how to flatter Chu Yang. It was obvious that this grandson not only had to give an accurate answer, but flattery was also necessary. Where are the illusion devils hiding in this illusion devil hidden domain? I am going to capture a few of them to be my slaves. Everyone's expression instantly turned strange. They were praying that they wouldn't encounter the illusion devils, but this grandson couldn't wait for the illusion devils to come to him. It was especially so for the fierce dragon Marshal Insti Tushan and the other 3 major Marshal Insti Tushans. They even had the heart to die. They actually went to find trouble with such a master. Many people from the 3 major Marshal Insti Tushans couldn't help but have great doubts about their respective leaders. Leng Haomiao, Chu Feixing, and Ma Kangsheng. Were the 3 of them stupid? How could they treat such a savage person as a trash? No one answered. Who knew? Big meatball, tell me where the illusion devils are. Chu Yang looked at the big meatball. The big meatball knew that he was unlucky. I'm the most handsome, suave, and handsome. I heard that the Huanmo in the Huanmo secret realm has been wiped out. I don't think there are any more. The meatball couldn't help but squint as it spoke, secretly sizing up Chu Yang. When it saw that Chu Yang seemed unhappy, it immediately added, I don't have Huanmo, but I do have Huanmo pills. I want the illusory demon pill. Chu Yang smiled and said, tell me, where can I find the phantasmal demon pills? Even if I don't see them, I can still look at their essence. I'm the most handsome man who knows everything. The meatball pointed at the Heaven's Eye formation. There should be a phantasmal demon pill there. I heard that the elders of the 5 Elements sect wiped out all the demonic nature of the illusory fiend pill and used it to set up the array. Phantasmal demon pill, Heaven's Eye? These two don't seem to be the same thing. Chu Yang smiled and looked at the meatball. His meaning was obvious. If you want to talk nonsense, I will bury you. The meatball broke out in cold sweat. He was too unlucky. Chapter 301. The real object was transformed by the phantasmal demon elixir, and then transmitted to the other side to form an image to monitor the entire Huanmo secret territory. This seemed reasonable. Chu Yang believed it for the time being. Big meatball, I'll believe you for now. As he spoke, his eyes unconsciously glanced at the Sky Eye array. Suddenly, a furious voice rumbled from the Sky Eye and warned, little dog, if you dare to have any ideas about the phantasmal demon elixir in the array, I'll kill you without mercy. Kill without mercy, how terrifying. Chu Yang despised the Sky Eye in his heart and said perfunctorily, don't worry, I have a bottom line. It's just a phantasmal demon elixir. Don't make such a fuss. Swish. Chu Yang left as soon as he finished speaking. His speed was extremely fast. He soon disappeared into the darkness of the night. And, no one knew where he had gone. After about half an hour, a roar resounded throughout the Huanmo secret territory. Little dog, How dare you? The exasperated voice made everyone in the Huanmore secret territory realize that this matter must have something to do with the supreme grade I'm the most handsome. However, they did not know what earth-shattering thing this supreme grade had done to anger the higher-ups of the Five Elements sect. They didn't have to wonder for too long. At the center of the Huanmore secret territory, where the overall ranking board was located, there was a sudden burst of light, followed by a series of violent explosions. Then, the largest heaven's eye on the overall ranking board completely disappeared. Little dog, I order you to return the phantasmal demon elixir immediately and restore the array. Otherwise, I'll skin you. Everyone was speechless. This supreme grade was really lawless. He actually stole the phantasmal demon elixir on the overall list and completely destroyed the array there. As a result, the disappearance of the Sky Eye on the overall list greatly weakened the Five Elements sect's monitoring of the entire Huanmore secret territory. The Huanmore secret territory might become more chaotic and dangerous. Junior brother Chu, everyone from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution was shocked. Chu Yang actually dared to do such a thing. As for whether or not it was Chu Yang, they didn't have the slightest doubt. Perhaps the monster core or devil core was just like that to others, but in Chu Yang's hands, it was definitely a different scene. Chu Yang needed these things very much. Damned little bastard, can't you stop for a moment? Chu Na gritted her teeth. As Chu Yang's elder sister, she was so scared that she almost couldn't take it anymore. First, Chu Yang had made a shocking 1 million points, and then, the things that followed were even more outrageous. 2 million points, I'm the most handsome. Now, I've even destroyed the Heaven's Eye monitoring the Huanmore secret plane and stole the Huanmore pill. Every single one of his actions was incomparably bold, and every single one of them could make him the eye of the storm, the target of public criticism. At the side, Li Hao, Zhong Tian, Ji Jingcheng, and the others could only smile bitterly. They said in their hearts, "Senior sister, you've been counted on this time. Junior brother is like a storm. Wherever he goes, the world will be turned upside down." Previously, they had thought that Chu Yang would definitely stir up a storm in the Five Elements sect. However, they never expected that Chu Yang would create such a big storm. Now, it was just the entrance examination. Who knew what would happen after he entered the Five Elements sect? This grandson really did do such a thing. The big meatball from the western region didn't find it strange at all. He would find it strange if Chu Yang didn't do such a thing. Calm down, calm down. Didn't we already expect it? Isn't that so? Even if he does something outrageous now, I won't find it strange. The browless man and the thief couldn't help but laugh. Now, those big shots of the Five Elements sect will be jumping up and down. I'm looking forward to the scene of them hanging that top-quality guy up and beating him. I promise I'll go and watch. Count me in. This grandson is bullying me too much. Even if I can't beat him, I can still watch him make a fool of himself. The people from the western region didn't find it strange that Chu Yang would do such a thing. In their opinion, this was the kind of person who would kill a chicken with a knife. If you gave him a chicken knife, he would kill a phoenix like a chicken. Chapter 302. As if he had stolen a chicken, Chu Yang immediately ran away after getting the magic core of the illusion demon. At the moment when the heavenly eye in the center was blinded, he quickly changed his original appearance and rushed towards the East District. After swallowing this magic core, I should be able to break through to the power of 3 dragons and refine the triple true essence. After confirming his safety, Chu Yang did not immediately participate in the snatching or earning of points. Instead, he found a relatively hidden place to prepare for his breakthrough. The magic core of the illusion demon was crystal clear and divided into 3 layers. It was as if 3 transparent circular crystals were wrapped around one another. At first glance, Chu Yang's vision was immediately distorted by the illusion demon core, creating layers of illusions. In an instant, more than a dozen illusion demon cores appeared in front of him. The 2 layers inside the illusory demon pill were even more exaggerated. There were hundreds and even thousands of phantoms. Chu Yang couldn't distinguish between the real and the fake for a while. This illusion demon core is actually so amazing. Chu Yang was very surprised. It seems that the level of this illusion demon core is extremely high. I wonder what realm the illusion demon that was killed was at. If it weren't for the fact that the demonic energy in the illusion demon core had been completely wiped out, Chu Yang felt that just by looking at this magic core, he would have been confused and even demonized. The 3 layers of the demonic core were all different. The centermost layer didn't seem to exist at all, it was just an illusion. The second layer, however, was extremely real. As for the outermost layer, it seemed to be a fusion of the first and second layers, true and false. In other words, the 3 layers of the illusion demon core were false, true and false. True is false is true. Where there is nothing, there is nothing. When you look at the real thing as an illusion, the fake thing is even more real than the real thing, and vice versa. There were many levels to the concept of truth and falsehood. It was not a simple truth and falsehood. There were always many people in the world who treated false things as true and true things as falsehood. The more Chu Yang sensed the illusory demon pellet, the more extraordinary he found it to be. His stealthy return this time was unimaginable. This illusory fiend pill is truly incredible. If I consume it, I'll be able to combine the illusory power of the illusory fiend palm and the illusory power of the illusory fiend wolf to create illusions. I'll be able to toy with my enemies. He directly swallowed the illusory demon pill. Kaka. As soon as the illusory demon pill entered his stomach, the celestial myriad forms millstone appeared and instantly crushed the entire illusory demon pill. Shockingly, it didn't grind away the impurities in the pill. Instead, it ground the high-grade energy into low-grade energy. The quality of the energy in the Huanmo Dan was extremely high, and Chu Yang was unable to absorb it at his current realm, which shocked him once again. This, not long after he swallowed the illusory demon pill, Chu Yang suddenly felt that his physical body had completely disappeared. He was only left with his spiritual consciousness. Soon, layers of illusions and illusions appeared in his spiritual consciousness. In an instant, Chu Yang felt as if his consciousness had been wrapped in a dreamy bubble, and he had fallen into a dreamland and an illusion. He didn't panic. This was his physical body and spiritual consciousness absorbing the energy in the illusory demon pill, as well as his talent. Logically speaking, Chu Yang should have sensed this process carefully, because this was the only way to accurately comprehend the illusory fiend intent. However, Chu Yang directly used the full martial soul. Actively sensing, comprehending, and learning was a far better process than using the full martial soul. Not only could he obtain the complete illusory fiend talent by using the full martial soul, but this talent was also innate, as if it was bestowed by the heavens. This was the strength of the full martial soul. It operated automatically like the heavenly Tao. Naturally, it had its own strengths and advantages compared to the genius martial soul. Chapter 303. Awakening from a dream, I don't know. When Chu Yang woke up, he couldn't help but be startled. The first thing he sensed was his true essence. His true essence was also divided into 3 levels, just like the illusory demon pellet. False, true, and true as one. Not only that, Chu Yang also felt that there was something else in his true essence that made him feel that his true essence was extremely extraordinary. Third revolution of the Chi soul. He used his genius martial spirit and instantly understood that the energy contained in the illusory demon pellet was extremely dense. It was far from what Chu Yang could withstand. When he broke through to the 3 dragons' strength, he formed the 3 talents' true essence. Under the push of the full martial spirit, 1 gave birth to 2, 2 gave birth to 3, 3 gave birth to all things, producing the 4 divisions, 5 elements, 6 directions, 7 stars, 8 trigrams, and 9 palaces true essence. After completing the first revolution, he completed the second revolution and finally entered the third revolution. In other words, his true essence had already undergone the third revolution, which was the third revolution of the Chi soul. The origin martial third revolution, the third revolution of the Chi soul, and the third revolution of the ascending soul. These 3 were the pinnacle of the origin martial realm, the Chi soul realm, and the ascending soul realm. Those who could reach the origin martial third revolution were extremely rare. Almost no one could do it. Otherwise, Chu Yang's elder brother, Chu Fei, wouldn't be so shocked. The third revolution of the Qi soul and the third revolution of the ascending soul were even more difficult and impossible to do. I completed the third revolution of the Qi soul just like that. Chu Yang felt that it was somewhat unreal. He was now in the third revolution of true essence, the third talent realm. Not only that, his true essence's third revolution was also divided into the major third revolution and the minor third revolution. The minor third revolution was the 3 stages of the illusory demon pellet: false, true, and true as one. The major third revolution, the first revolution, his divine soul to temper his true essence; the second revolution, his martial spirit to temper his true essence; and the final third revolution, his body to produce true essence. It seems that I can use my divine soul to temper my true essence because of the full martial spirit. It has nothing to do with body cultivation. The 3 transformations of Qi and soul gave Chu Yang a more comprehensive and thorough understanding of the refinement of quintessential essence. In the past, every time he made a breakthrough as a body cultivator, his divine soul would refine his true essence. However, this had nothing to do with body cultivation. Instead, when he made a breakthrough, the path between his body and divine soul was temporarily opened. Under the automatic operation of his full martial spirit, true essence poured into his body and was refined by his divine soul. Why would a body cultivator need to temper their true essence? Once a body cultivator's body was strong enough, their true essence would naturally be nurtured. There was no need to temper it. The idiot martial spirit is definitely not inferior to the genius martial spirit. Both of them have their own strengths, and if used well, their effects will be heaven-defying. And I have 2 martial spirits, so the so-called impossible does not exist. Things that are as difficult as ascending to heaven in the eyes of others are as simple as eating and drinking to me, haha. After Chu Yang laughed for a while, he began to feel the effects of the third circulation of Qi soul. Screech! A high-pitched eagle cry rang out. His body was like an eagle's nest, and in an instant, an eagle spread its wings and flew out, soaring into the 9 heavens. The process of condensing true essence into an eagle was completed in an instant. Previously, when Chu Yang was constructing his true essence skill, the speed was already extremely fast. But now, when he used his true essence skill, it was as good as instant. It is indeed extraordinary. I'm afraid that the third circulation of Qi soul is not so simple. My true essence should also be able to explode 3 times. With a thought, Chu Yang's true essence fluctuated, and the eagle in the air suddenly shrank by more than 3 times. However, its speed was also 3 times faster, and its strength was also 3 times stronger. What surprised Chu Yang was that this eagle's body was blooming with a golden light, and it was actually about to transform into a golden-winged rock. It can't be. The third circulation of Qi soul is actually so miraculous. The third circulation of true essence can actually transform true essence skill on its own. Chu Yang did not have the visualization diagram of the big-winged gold rock bird, so he naturally did not know how to use a true essence skill like a rock. However, with the third circulation of true essence, such a miraculous change had occurred. The eagle formed by his true essence was almost transforming into a rock. Heavens, if I were to use the flood dragon's 18 strikes, after the third circulation, wouldn't the flood dragon become a true dragon? With the third circulation of true essence, not only could a true essence skill erupt with 3 times the power, it could even evolve into a higher level true essence skill. This was simply heaven-defying. This was simply unimaginable. For example, if Chu Yang threw out a wooden sword, but this wooden sword could suddenly turn into a divine sword, cutting through iron like mud. In this way, as long as a true essence skill fell into Chu Yang's hands, his true essence skill would be completely different from others. It was simply heaven and earth. Haha. Chu Yang could not help but laugh again. The genius martial spirit and the idiot martial spirit are too fucking powerful. The current Chu Yang felt that he was invincible. Following that, his heart burned with passion. If the third circulation of origin martial skill and the third circulation of Qi soul can be used together, wouldn't I be able to erupt with 6 times the power, 6 times the speed, and 6 times the perception? However, he had a feeling that this 6 times burst was not possible. Chapter 304. Roar. Chu Yang punched the air, and the 3 dragons and 6 elephants behind him roared in unison. The roar resounded through the heavens and earth, spreading far and wide. The echoes reverberated back to Chu Yang's ears. My strength has now increased to the strength of 3 dragons and 6 elephants. With this, I will be able to break through to the strength of 4 dragons and refine my physical body into the true yuan of the 4 elephants. Chu Yang was delighted. The first 2 transformations of his Chi Soul, the Soul Transformation and the Martial Soul Transformation, had already been completed. Now, only the true yuan of the body transformation was left. Although there were many types of true yuan in his body, including the Phantom Demon's true yuan, the Flood Dragon's true yuan, the Sword's true yuan, the Blade's true yuan, and so on, there were no less than 9 types of true yuan. However, his physical body could only refine 3 types of true yuan: water, fire, and earth. In other words, he was only at the 3rd layer of the Chi Soul realm, but breaking through to the 4th layer was just around the corner. Now that I have the 4 innate constitutions of water, fire, earth, and metal, and the 5 innate constitutions of wood, wind, thunder, light, and darkness, it will not be easy to complete the 3rd transformation of the body transformation. After Chu Yang's joy, he could not help but frown. With 4 innate constitutions, as long as the strength of his physical body increased, it would be easy for him to break through to the 4th layer of the Chi Soul realm. However, after that, it would be difficult. He would have to first refine the wood, wind, thunder, light, and darkness bodies before he could break through. If others knew about this, they would definitely think I'm a madman. It's already extremely difficult to refine the 9 types of true essences of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, but I still want to refine the 9 types of innate physiques. After reaching the 4th layer of the Chi Soul realm, Chu Yang could already foresee that it would be extremely difficult for him to break through. Every step was a bottleneck, and it would be impossible for him to break through as easily as before. Boom! Chu Yang suppressed his worries and began to try. He punched out, and 10 dragons and 8 elephants appeared. This was the strength of 10 dragons and 8 elephants. My original strength is the strength of 3 dragons and 6 elephants, so 10 dragons and 8 elephants is exactly 3 times. As expected, the 3rd transformation of the Origin Martial Realm and the 3rd transformation of the Chi Soul Transformation cannot be stacked. Shua. Chu Yang moved at full speed. In an instant, it was as if he was shuttling through the void. His speed was extremely fast, and he didn't use anything at all. More than 10 illusory figures appeared, one after another. It was impossible to distinguish which one was his real body. I can only increase my speed by 3 times. Wang. With Chu Yang as the center, 3 ripples spread out in the void in an instant, followed by 3 more ripples. A total of 6 ripples spread out in the distance. Then, Chu Yang sensed everything. In his spiritual consciousness, the spiritual sphere that resembled the illusion demon pill slowly rotated and presented everything that he had sensed. This spiritual sphere seemed to be evolving into the universal manifestation apparatus. When Chu Yang swallowed the Huanmo Dan, not only did his physical body have a huge breakthrough, his mental power was also the same. His mental power underwent a transformation and condensed into a mental sphere like the Huanmo Dan. 6 times my perception. My mental power can increase my strength by 6 times. Chu Yang was slightly surprised, but then he figured it out. The reason why the 3rd transformation of the Origin Martial Realm and the 3rd transformation of the Chi Soul Transformation couldn't be stacked was probably because the 3rd transformation of the Chi Soul Transformation, the physical transformation, had not been completed. Whether it was speed or strength, it was directly related to the physical body. Mental power was not affected by the 3rd transformation. Therefore, the 3rd transformation of the Origin Martial Realm and the 3rd transformation of the Chi Soul Transformation could be perfectly stacked, allowing one to increase their mental power by 6 times. Without stopping, Chu Yang began to experience the 3rd transformation of the minor transformation after understanding the 3rd transformation of the great transformation. It could also be said that it was the 3rd transformation of the Huanmo Dan. Screech. In an instant, there was the high-pitched screech of an eagle, but the eagle's figure was nowhere to be seen. It was somewhat strange. However, Chu Yang could clearly see that the eagle that flew out of his body was completely transparent. It was almost invisible. Change. With a thought from Chu Yang, there was another high-pitched screech of an eagle. The originally invisible eagle instantly appeared in the air. It was as if an eagle had been summoned by Chu Yang from another dimension. This eagle had flesh and blood. It was impossible to tell that it was made of qi. It was a real eagle that couldn't be any more real. Change again. Boom. All of a sudden, the eagle seemed to explode. Its figure blurred, and soon, 10 eagles appeared. It was hard to tell which was real and which was fake. They circled in the air, constantly emitting high-pitched cries. It should be more than that. Chu Yang still had a lot of energy left. With a thought, he instantly used the second move of the Great Thousand Leaf Hands. The eagles in the air instantly increased from 10 to over 100. Chapter 305. Haha. Chu Yang could no longer restrain the joy in his heart. He laughed out loud. Just this hand alone is enough to scare a LV9 Chi Soul Realm martial artist, let alone a LV4 or 5 Chi Soul Realm martial artist. Who would have enough vital energy to create 100 eagles at once? Every one of them was as big as a mountain. Therefore, as long as Chu Yang performed this move, it would definitely scare people half to death. This monster is indeed a monster. Just as Chu Yang was laughing, such a voice barged into his ears and gave him a big fright. He couldn't help but shout, "Who is it?" Chu Yang's divine sense was extremely powerful. He could sense everything within 1,000 feet radius, but he couldn't find anything. His heart couldn't help but skip a beat. Be careful of the current sect leader of the Five Elements sect. What did that mean? Chu Yang was puzzled. He was a disciple of the Five Elements sect. Why did he have to be careful of the sect leader of the Five Elements sect? It was simply inexplicable. Just as he was about to open his mouth to ask, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard. Immediately, a sharp ray of light flew straight towards him. It was so fast that Chu Yang couldn't even react in time. The sharp ray of light directly entered his body. What kind of nonsense is entering my body? He was shocked. With a thought, a pentagram appeared in his hand and slowly rotated. However, what was frightening was that the air could be seen being cut apart like flowing water. At the same time, Chu Yang's consciousness landed on the pentagram. He felt as if his essence, spirit, and soul were all being cut in half. What is this thing? It's so sharp. He was so frightened that he almost threw the pentagram to the ground. This thing was simply too frightening. If he wasn't careful, he would be directly cut into pieces by this pentagram. Senior is, Chu Yang had too many questions in his heart. Who was this person? What did he mean by this? What was this thing? However, just as he opened his mouth, he was interrupted. You don't have to ask. You will know when the time comes. Remember, don't let anyone discover the pentagram anti-heaven star. Otherwise, you might die very quickly in the Five Elements sect. Pentagonal anti-heaven star. Chu Yang was shocked again. Although this name sounded very strange, it was obviously extremely domineering, and this item seemed to be extraordinary. After that, the person fell silent. Who is this? What is his purpose? Why did he make Chu Yang yell so anxiously? Senior, senior, senior. However, there was no response at all. It was as if that person had never appeared. Forget it, I'll just take it that I picked up a divine weapon out of nowhere. Chu Yang was a little discouraged. There was really nothing he could do about it. He had no room to refuse. This person must have a great relationship with the Five Elements sect. Moreover, he seems to have some enmity with the Five Elements sect. However, he is definitely not an elder of this entrance examination. Chu Yang was very sure of this point. However, no matter how he thought about it, he still couldn't figure it out. He couldn't help but frown. It seems like the waters in the Five Elements sect are very deep. I have to be careful. At the same time, he also felt that he had been drawn into a huge whirlpool. For a moment, he felt that the pentagram anti-heaven star in his hand was extremely hot. He really wanted to throw it away immediately. Forget it. It's useless to think and worry blindly. I'll just deal with whatever comes my way. What's the point of being afraid? Chu Yang calmed down and thought about the subsequent matters. He then muttered to himself, I have to take care of my sister so that she won't be bullied. However, I don't know how she is now. No matter what, before the entrance examination, he had caused a huge commotion. The coiling dragon martial institution had already entered the eyes of everyone. If he didn't hold the fort, the coiling dragon martial institution would probably be doomed if anyone came to provoke them. Chapter 306. Chiliocosm Leaf Palms. Chu Yang unleashed the chiliocosm leaf palms. Instantly, 10 arms appeared, followed by a series of popping sounds. Then a 10th arm, an 11th arm, a 12th arm. All the way until the 100th arm appeared, everything stopped. As expected, my chiliocosm leaf palms improved a lot after my cultivation base increased, and with the help of the chiliocosm leaf palms innate gift, I can create 100 arms with the first move alone. Chiliocosm leaf palms. Chu Yang unleashed the second move of the chiliocosm leaf palms. Instantly, 800 arms appeared, making it seem as if he had 1,000 arms. Indistinguishable leaves. One leaf blinds the eye. Shifting roots and attaching leaves. The third move of the second move of the chiliocosm leaf palms caused numerous arms, illusions, and leaves to swirl about in the air. Chu Yang frowned. The third move of the second move of the chiliocosm leaf palms really does have a huge impact. Even with the innate gift of the chiliocosm leaf palms, I can only create 800 arms. That's about the same as the previous 80. Before, I couldn't create 100 arms, and now, I can't create 1,000. This was a difficult problem, and he was stuck at this point. However, there was nothing he could do. Life-stealing windchaser sword. Heart-piercing stance. Throat-stabbing stance. Eyebrow stance. Chu Yang seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind. He was unpredictable. Layers upon layers of illusions and phantoms appeared. Not only were there layers upon layers of illusions every time he thrust his sword, the sword in his hand also suddenly disappeared. Then, his entire body became transparent, and he completely vanished. He was like an assassin hiding in the darkness, moving about in the dark, ready to strike at any moment. The innate gift of the chiliocosm leaf palms and the life-stealing windchaser sword are much more powerful. Roar. A loud and clear dragon roar resounded from Chu Yang's dantian. Then, a fan-sized dragon claw, which was emitting a cold light, stretched out first. Then, a ferocious flood dragon with iron-like teeth, scales, and whiskers rushed out and coiled around Chu Yang's body. Finally, its sharp claws rested on Chu Yang's shoulders. The dragon's head was behind Chu Yang's head, and it coldly stared ahead. This cyan-colored flood dragon's body was vigorous, and it didn't have the slightest bit of the mystery and elegance of the legendary true dragons. It was ruthless and tyrannical, and its aura was cruel and evil. Its eyes didn't contain any emotion, and it looked down on all life. It was so cold that it made people shudder. Regardless of whether it was the great 1,000 leaf hands, the life-reaping windchaser, or the 18 flood dragon strikes, all of them had basically broken away from their original forms. As Chu Yang's strength increased, they also underwent a qualitative change. That's what I heard. The Mahamayuri Sutra also accompanied Chu Yang. He tried to construct the Mahamayuri Sutra's Dharma form with his life force, but it exploded in the end. I failed. Until now, I still can't construct the Mahamayuri Sutra's Dharma form. Chu Yang was shocked. After obtaining the mysterious item from the broken Buddha statue, the Mahamayuri Sutra had completely exceeded his imagination. Forget it, let's wait a little longer. I don't believe that I can't construct the Mahamayuri Sutra when I reach LV9 Chi Soul Realm. Then, he continued to integrate all of his martial arts. White Lion, Black Eagle, Violent King Kong Demon Ape, Seven-Colored Sky-Devouring Python, Wind Tiger, Armored Scorpion, Tree Demon, Chiliocosm Leaf Palms, Chiliocosm Leaf Palms, Skyheart Swordfire, Blade Crystal Earthwater, Fragrant Elephant Crossing River, Cutting Off All Flows, Road to Heaven, Somersault Cloud. Chu Yang definitely had a lot of true essence in his body now. Sword Essence, Saber Essence, flood dragon essence, devil ape essence, white lion essence, and many other kinds of demonic essence. He also had 5 kinds of true essence: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Chapter 307. Chu Yang could be said to be an anomaly. No one else could have such a scene. Now that his Chi soul had undergone the 3rd transformation, he was still at the 3rd level of the Chi soul realm. His physical body could only reach the 9th level of the Chi soul realm after producing 9 types of Chi. The 6th level of the Chi soul realm should be effortless for me to kill them now. Chu Yang began to evaluate his combat strength. Perhaps, even if they are at the 7th or 8th level, I should be able to kill them if I use my full strength and all my trump cards. With his current strength, he shouldn't have to worry about the inner sect of the 5 elements sect for the time being. Chu Yang didn't really care about points now. His goal was only the inner sect of the 5 elements sect, the core disciples, and the direct disciples. Before he was strong enough, he didn't want to be abused. Especially when his temper wasn't suitable. He was already used to being arrogant. It's time to visit my old sister. Boom. Like a ball of flame, Chu Yang spread out a pair of eagle wings behind him and instantly flew out. His speed was extremely fast as he started to search for the coiling dragon martial insti Tushan. Chu Yang was like a divine eagle spreading its wings across the sky. He extended his powerful divine instinct. The illusion demon hidden domain's eastern region might be huge, but it was huge. He could sense the location of the coiling dragon martial insti Tushan. Not bad. They haven't encountered any problems yet. Chu Yang was delighted. He quickly approached and sensed again. A smile blossomed on his face. In a place like the 5 elements sect, the pressure is great, but so are the opportunities. They are breaking through rather quickly. The core disciples of the coiling dragon martial insti Tushan, Wang Xiaoman, Ji Jingcheng, and the others had all broken through to the Chi soul realm. Chu Na, Li Hao, Zhong Tian, and the others had already reached the 2nd level of the Chi soul realm. Many of the other disciples had also broken through to the Chi soul realm. It has only been a month since I entered the illusion demon hidden domain. Such a breakthrough speed is not bad. The disciples of the coiling dragon martial insti Tushan. The smile on Chu Yang's face became even more radiant. However, he didn't have the intention to meet up with them immediately. He only planned to follow behind them and protect them. H, that little bastard is finally here. He made us wait for so long. He deserves to be hacked into pieces. Wait a moment, I'll definitely make him beg for death. Boom. When Chu Yang was still 3,000 feet away from the coiling dragon martial insti Tushan's disciples, 8 formidable auras burst out from a hidden mountain peak. Shortly after, 8 figures leaped out and obstructed Chu Yang's path. Each of these 8 people was extremely powerful. Powerful auras seeped out of their bodies, like 8 huge waves surging out at the same time. 4th level of the Chi soul realm, 4. 5th tier Chi soul stage, 2. 6th tier Chi soul stage, 2. Among the 8 of them, the one with the lowest cultivation base was at least at the 4th level of the Chi soul realm, the 4 symbols element realm. Among them, there were even 2 who were at the 6th level of the Chi soul realm. This was not a small stance. Chu Yang could not help but narrow his eyes. These 8 people should not be the disciples who were participating in the 5 element sect's entrance exam. Generally, the disciples who participated in the entrance exam did not possess such powerful strength. If his guess was correct, these 8 people should be the disciples of the 5 element sect. Little mischievous Qian Aoshue. There was also that young man who had been following behind Xiaomai. It should be related to those 2. If it's not that little girl, then it's that young man. These 8 people should be here to kill me. With just one look, Chu Yang already had a rough idea of what to do. He did not put these people in his eyes. Instead, he felt that these 8 people were suitable for him to test his strength. Who are you people? Why are you stopping me? Chu Yang was very silly, very naive, and very innocent. Who are we? Haha. Chapter 308. I don't know any of you. We have never met before. What is the meaning of this? Ha ha. Chu Yang revealed a terrified look, which made the 8 of them burst into laughter. Can't we kill you just because we have no enmity with you? Naive. What's laughable is that the 8 of us, the inner sect disciples of the 5 Elements sect, actually followed behind those trash from the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution for an entire month just to kill an ant like you. You wasted so much of our precious time. You deserve to die. Later, I'll definitely make you beg for death. Just as well. This is what Senior Brother An instructed us to do. The 8 of them had waited for nearly a month. Speaking of this matter, their faces were filled with anger. In order to find Chu Yang, they had searched the entire illusory demon secret domain. Senior Brother An. I don't know any Senior Brother An. Why is he finding trouble with me? Chu Yang seemed to know that he was doomed. So, he started to stammer, and a look of fear appeared on his face. Chemph. Is Senior Sister Aoshue someone a lowly bastard like you can taint? The young man in luxurious robes snorted and stated the reason. At the same time, he sneered and said, You don't know anything. You actually offended someone without realizing it. What a joke. As expected. What a good Senior Brother An. I will remember this enmity for now. If I don't take your head in the future, I will change my surname to yours. Chu Yang's heart was filled with killing intent. Why would he want to taint that little girl? Could it be that this so-called Senior Brother An was blind? I was just running for my life, and he actually wanted to kill me because of that. Especially when Chu Yang saw the 8 of them. Any one of them, or an ordinary disciple, would give him a huge pressure. The 8 of them had joined forces and were obviously determined to kill him. In addition, in order to kill him, the 8 of them had actually waited for him for nearly a month. How much hatred did they have for him to be so persistent? Thinking of this, Chu Yang suddenly broke out in cold sweat. Fortunately, they didn't make a move on the Coiling Dragon Martial Institution. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this moment, his killing intent was even heavier. Chemph, so you're scared now? Hurry up and kneel down to apologize. The young man snorted coldly again as he looked down at Chu Yang and ordered. Kneel. Suddenly, a short, triangular-eyed young man on the right side of the luxurious-robed young man sneered, Do you think he will kneel? Can't you see that this bastard has been pretending to be afraid and playing with you? Not only was his triangular eyes somewhat sinister, but his insight was also astonishing. He was like a viper lurking in the dark, and with a single glance, he saw through Chu Yang's trick. The young man's face instantly turned cold. This was too shameful. His face instantly turned gloomy. How dare you? You're about to die and you still don't know what you're doing. She was an extremely seductive woman. She wore a tight-fitting long dress, revealing her beautiful figure. She was the other martial artist at the 6th level of the Chi Soul realm. At this time, her complexion was extremely cold because she had also thought that Chu Yang was afraid a moment ago. However, this insignificant little bastard was actually so daring. He actually pretended to be afraid in front of the 8 of them and teased them. So what? Chu Yang sneered. So what if she saw through it? Of the 8 people, 2 were at the 6th level of the Chi Soul realm, 2 were at the 5th level of the Chi Soul realm, and 4 were at the 4th level of the Chi Soul realm. On paper, they were very strong, but Chu Yang didn't think much of them. Although he estimated that he would have to deal with and kill the 8 of them, he had already made up his mind. Now that he had made up his mind to kill, his biggest concern was the heaven's eye in the sky. He casually pointed at the heaven's eye in the sky above the Eastern District. With this thing up there, what am I afraid of? Even if that so-called bullshit Senior Brother An is here, so what? Would he dare to kill me? Hee hee. The triangular-eyed young man licked his lips. His eyes flashed with a murderous glint as he laughed sinisterly. This is the reason why you're so fearless. You're an assessment disciple, but we're not. If we kill you, we'll definitely be punished by the sect, right? I'll give you some hope. This is indeed possible. Shortly after, he sneered. I'll give you some despair. Chapter 309. Formation? Chu Yang's eyes narrowed. This triangular-eyed man was actually a formation master. What level of array formation master are you? Chu Yang gave him a sideways glance. Can this bullshit formation really isolate the heaven's eyes probing? I'm very skeptical. He was really a little worried. If this stupid formation was useless when he killed people later, then wouldn't it be a waste? Humph, ignorant. Senior brother Yang is a formation genius. He can even fight with ascending soul tier cultivators with formations, so how could his formation be useless? Fight with ascending soul tier cultivators with formations. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. Isn't this what I need right now? He was limited by his cultivation level, so he was no match for ascending soul tier cultivators, but formations could make up for it. Hehe, the first reward was in his hands. The triangular-eyed senior brother Yang was underestimated by Chu Yang, and because of his anger, he became even more mocking. Your worries are very reasonable, but it's not the first time I've killed people for senior brothers in the illusory demon mystery realm, and it seems like nothing has ever happened. So, what do you think? The other 7 people also laughed mockingly. If you say so, then I can kill people without worry. Chu Yang's lips curled into a smile. Thank you for your careful preparation. In order to express my gratitude, I've decided to send the 8 of you on your way so that you won't be lonely on the road to hell. Send the 8 of us on our way? Nonsense. You're just a bug, so there's no need to trouble senior brothers to dirty their hands. Let me take care of him. A purple-robed young man jumped out from the 8 people and pointed at Chu Yang. Don't think that you're amazing just because there are few people who can match you in the East Martial Institution. You're just a bug in front of us, and I can kill you like pinching a bug to death. Bug. A cold light flashed in Chu Yang's eyes. Boom. As the purple-clothed youth spoke, he took a step forward, and a cloud of dust shot up into the sky, turning into a giant snake that slithered around his body. His true essence surged violently, and a giant sand fist instantly formed. This fist was extremely heavy, as if it could shatter a mountain and turn it into a cloud of dust. You are merely at the 4th level of the Chi Soul stage, and you dare to be so impudent in front of me. Chu Yang sneered and stretched out his hand. 18 Flood Dragon strikes, Flood Dragon Claw. A dragon's roar also came from his body. His hand was like a flood dragon coming out of the abyss. When he stretched out his hand, there were layers upon layers of illusions, making it impossible to tell which was real and which was fake. Boom. When the two collided, the huge sand-dust fist was directly crushed, producing a terrifying loud sound, bursting out from the air. Layers of terrifying strength in the air pushed out layers upon layers of waves, as if raging waves in the ocean were wreaking havoc. In the blink of an eye, these waves turned into a storm, sweeping out. Sand and stones flew, and grass and trees were snapped. It was like a big broom sweeping the ground, sweeping clean the surroundings. Bang! The giant snake formed by the dust pounced on Chu Yang's body, and was directly smashed into pieces by Chu Yang's barbaric physical body. The dust scattered and was swept away in an instant. With just one contact, the purple-clothed youth's face was filled with shock. He had never thought that Chu Yang would be able to smash the giant snake he had transformed into. The dust was just an illusion for this giant snake, and it contained a large amount of his true essence. Also, his sandstorm fist was extremely violent, as if countless grains of sand were attacking at the same time. It was as strong as divine gold or divine iron, but it was like tofu, and was directly crushed. Bug. Chu Yang sneered. Who do you think is the bug? Before he finished speaking, the dragon roar in Chu Yang's body resonated. He took a few steps, and his body was like a flood dragon. In an instant, he had already rushed in front of the purple-clothed youth. Another flood dragon claw reached out, fiercely grabbing at the purple-clothed youth. The purple-clothed youth did not even have time to react. However, some people reacted. The 2 youths at the 6th level of the Chi Soul stage and the 2 at the 5th level of the Chi Soul stage shouted, "Stop! Bug, how dare you! Stop!" Why would Chu Yang care about these people? They were going to die soon, and he instantly grabbed at them with his claw. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.